Welcome into week 4 of the Sunday Social Show, where you get all this, free content, and then if you really want the juicy content, you know where to go, and I'll mention that a little later here. But I'm here with Dylan as always, and Alan here, ready to give us some betting lines and some favorite bets of the week he has. But before we go into that real quick, just if you do want to get direct contact to me, Alan, Keith, Dave, Eddy, Chris, Robbin for DFS. You got just so much content over there at that subscription for F6P. Go to fantasysixpack.net/plans. Go check it out. I could probably explain it a lot better than I can, and I don't want to waste any more time because you guys are here for some good content. So, Alan, I want you to take it off. I know we're started a little late here, but it's all your time now.
All right, cool. So right now I've got Christian Kirk over 51.5 yards. I think I put in the Discord. So, what you were talking about, if people want to get in early and get some good plays, the Discord channel is still jumping for not even just my bets, but I think Dave Eddy just finally lost a bet. So he's like 7-0. So it's jumping in there. But my favorite prop today is George Pickens over 57.5 yards. I think you're getting some good value there for a guy that's going to get force-fed and with the favorable matchup in Stingley. And then the Steelers just absolutely cannot run the ball. So until they figure that out, he's getting double the targets of everybody else anyway. It's almost like a joke that he's at 57.5 yards. So I think, you got to take that chance right there in a game where they should get plenty of possessions. And then a sneakier prop that is going to kind of hinge on how many carries he gets. Ezekiel Elliott over 28.5 yards. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry almost. It's going in, revenge factor. And I really think the Patriots are going to go very, very run heavy today to the point where we could possibly see 15 to 20 carries each back for real. That seems to be the best way to get the Cowboys defense moving backwards. They've got the offensive line to kind of bully them around a little bit. And Zeke is a great change of pace, physical back. So, come on in. Maintenance guy just came in, so sorry. No and then for my spread bets, I still like the Browns minus 2.5.
Before you go into that, let me just I did get the update. Deshaun Watson is out. He's not.
Oh, he is out? Okay.
So I don't know if that they ruled him out. I didn't know if that would change your he is out.
So I am now screwed on my Westgate bet because I can't change that. But take that out, man. DTR is still a good play, man. Like I think he's a solid guy, and with that defense, I mean, honestly, just don't turn the ball over. They should still cover. But a riskier bet that I think is not getting the love that it deserves. The Bills being favored by 2.5 on a lot of books, I think is still good value. I know the Dolphins are rolling, but I don't think you can overlook the historical facts with Tua's struggles against Buffalo in general. It's not just being in Buffalo. It's not the time of the year. He just doesn't beat this team. So I know they're playing out of their mind right now, but I think it's a necessary risk. If you want to back the Dolphins, do not back the Dolphins at 2.5. Make sure it's 3 or more. If you see 3 or more and you want to back the Dolphins, that's fair value. You don't want to be on the hook for the potential game-winning field goal because of pass interference at the end. Sure. And then the Patriots with the points, I don't think they can necessarily win, and it might get ugly, but just their clock-managing, physical style of football. Sure. And then the last 2 good teams they've really played, they've kind of hung in there to the very end. I really like them to keep Dallas out the end zone and make it an ugly game that they can possibly cover in on the back door.
All right, that's all I like that call. Sure,
I like it, Al. I like it. I'm sure that Deshaun Watson news kind of threw that threw that bet for a loop right there.
It's all good, man. I am very high on DTR. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't even think it's a drop off for real. But I'm not gonna recommend people follow me down that road. Just
I guess I wouldn't be touching like the over unders for the receptions for the running backs. I guess with DTR.
Ooh, we got an awesome comment here from Jamie. Alan, what do you think about this? He says, thoughts on my parlay. Roschon Johnson over 32.5 rushing yards and over 1.5 receptions at plus 175 against Denver today.
I think that's a good move. I think that's a good move.
I like that too.
Yeah.
And Bears
That's
fan,
not
I
a
like
lot.
that too. I think they're going to be getting him more involved here. So that's
Yeah, 32 and a half rushing yards and 2 receptions is not a lot. That's not a workhorse back. That's a change of pace back, which is exactly what he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, one thing about that game too, before I go, I couldn't find any props on Mims, which is weird to me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just because I'm in Florida right now and I
Okay.
can't log into DraftKings. But if anybody sees props on Mims or something like that, I really think he's got a good chance to score today. They sound like they're going to try to make a concerted effort to get him the ball more.
Yeah, he's got to be on the field more. It's crazy that like the last couple games he's played 15, 16 snaps, whatever it is, and
Yeah.
he's made the most out of it too with the big plays he gets. So yeah, I agree. Get him the ball. But yeah, before you get out of here, you got anything you want to plug though?
Yeah, just if you guys want to just obviously keep following me on Twitter, pray for my super contest. It was a rough week last week, but I'm looking to bounce back. And then I'll be in studio with ESPN Northwest Florida on the Inside Drive tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time. Yeah,
with Ryan.
So you can find that information. I'll post the link on Twitter. You can go to their Facebook page and see me on there as well. We'll probably be recapping some games and just talking about random stuff like the Ryder Cup.
Oh yeah, there was some drama on that. I saw yesterday with Rory McIlroy.
Yeah,
and the caddies. That was funny. I heard the caddy he got into with is just like the nicest guy ever. Like
yeah, I'm pretty sure they're friends. He's Tiger's old caddy, so I'm pretty sure they're friends. It's the heat of the moment.
A little friendly fight. Yeah. Happens all the time. It happened to me and Dylan over the weekend.
I mean, you saw me and Keith going at it in the chat earlier. That's just how it is.
It is.
That's how it is. Yeah.
It's respect, but disrespect at the same time.
For sure.
But yeah, guys, if you want to get more access to Alan and his brain when it comes to these betting props, all of it, included he actually does some DFS too, a little bit, I feel like.
Yeah.
But betting is his main prerogative here. If you guys want all that access, you got to go to fantasysixpack.net/plans, sign up for a membership, and you can message him directly in Discord. But thank you, Alan. Appreciate having you on.
Take care.
Yep. I'll see you next week, Alan. Thanks.
Have a good one. All right. Now I'm surprised here. Our fearless leader is a little late.
Just fill in time though, Mike. Let's talk about this right now. Let's talk about what we were talking about pre-show. Atlanta's sitting at 2-1 right now, right?
Yeah, and if you guys aren't watching this, it is on ESPN Plus or Disney Plus for the Toy Story version. But go on.
They're down 17-0. Desmond Ridder threw a pick six. Next possession threw another interception. I'm just curious. Jaguars actually just dropped a third interception in the first half. But I'm just curious your thoughts, man, because obviously the NFC South is not a great division. Atlanta's right in the thick of things. Do you think at any point they make the switch to their backup quarterback, Taylor Heineke, who we've seen be solid in a backup role in Washington? Do you think he can come back in and maybe get this offense moving a little better than what Ridder is doing for them right now?
Well, first off, before I say anything, this is Arthur Smith, so anything is possible. But yeah, I do think it's probably at this point more likely with this performance because Arthur Smith is all about winning, and if Desmond Ridder isn't even handling, the ball well and turning it over 3 times in the first half, he's probably going to bench his ass for him. And I hate to say it, but at least he can run an offense. It's just we know even with Heineke in, the offense isn't going to change very much. It just might get a little bit more efficient.
Yeah, and you could tell in this game at the start of the game, they're definitely trying to be more run heavy. They're getting Bijan the ball any way possible. Kind of like what you were saying pre-show, Mike. They got to do something to build Desmond Ridder's confidence because it just seems like he doesn't have a ton because you can just tell that they don't trust him a whole hell of a lot. But I'm curious to get Keith Flemming's thoughts when he hops in here in about 15 minutes. But looks like
I'm sure he's fuming right now after
I'm curious. I really want to hear his thoughts, but looks like Joe's here. So,
fearless leader, welcome in. How's it going, man?
What's going on, man?
Not much. I assume you're getting some of those rankings polished up.
I mean, I was doing that before the London game. So,
But either way, guys, that's what you get when you sign up for a membership. You get up-to-date rankings day before. I believe he says he does it in like Thursday nights. Yeah, but he's constantly updating those guys. There's a reason he's in the top 10. Yep. But welcome in, Joe. How's it hanging? You enjoying this game at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm watching the Toy Story broadcast because my son is actually watching it with me.
What's your take on football.
It? You know, it's honestly, if it weren't for him, I'm not watching it. It's glitchy. It's hard to really like figure out what the hell is going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
The ball like randomly floats out to the left. You're like, nah, that's not where it's going.
I know my son actually wasn't even interested in it, and he's a big Toy Story fan, and he's like, just didn't keep his interest.
It's all right, you know.
I mean, if you don't have ESPN Plus, you're watching it on Disney Plus, like I am.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing. So
no doubt. But all right, Joe, let's hop right into these rankings questions I got for you. And the first one here is, let's start with the quarterback position, and it's Lamar Jackson, who is ECR, which I do ECR from our website. So make sure you head on over to fantasysixpack.net. /plans, sign up for a membership, check out our rankings that we have over there. Lamar Jackson's ECR quarterback 8. Joe, you have him at QB 12. He is playing Cleveland, who we talked about yesterday on our show, that their defense is pretty outstanding. Is that what you're thinking here? That's why you have Lamar down so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, Lamar's been okay. He's kind of salvaged his season with his legs. Like last week, got the 2 rushing touchdowns. Honestly, man, like it hasn't been a phenomenal season for him. Cleveland's defense is top notch, allowing the second least number of points to opposing quarterbacks so far on the year. So, gonna have him below, his typical ranking that you would see for him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was honestly a little surprised that everyone else on the site had him still as high up as they did with him going against Cleveland. But we got running backs here. I got Miles Sanders, Joe. He is RB 14 on the site for consensus. You have him as RB 18, so you seem a little bit down on Miles Sanders. What are your thoughts here?
Remind me again who they're playing.
Seahawks. Panthers, Seahawks, Monday night.
Yep.
Is it Panthers, Seahawks? I see Panthers, Minnesota.
Yo, you're right.
Oh, you're right. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's Giants, Seahawks.
Like, where are we looking at?
Giants, Seahawks. Sorry. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, look, Miles Sanders is kind of in that range, man, where like it's a whole bunch of dudes. The projections actually have him a little bit higher than I do. My gut just tells me no thanks on this. Minnesota's pass defense, as we know, is completely atrocious. So they can be run on, but not quite as successfully. So I'm, chalking it up to maybe the passing game steps up a little bit more. We're going to see an Adam Thielen game again, even with Bryce Young back. And just sort of playing, game script, right? I mean, you got to think, the Panthers are going to have to be passing to kind of keep pace with the Vikings offense here. Yeah,
I agree with you there. This next one here, Javonte Williams. He is RB 18 in consensus on the site. Joe, you have him as RB 14, so it looks like he just pretty much swapped him and Miles Sanders. What are you thinking here? Is this matchup based, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I mean, look, at some point, right? I mean, the Bears are allowing the second most points to opposing running backs. I mean, obviously the Broncos are dead last after last week's debacle.
Yeah.
So, you kind of throw out that just randomness game with the Broncos, not completely throw it out, but I mean, that's going to be an outlier that's going to carry with them for a while there. So, I mean, really, you could say the Bears have arguably the worst run defense in football right now. So look, Williams is getting the volume. It just hasn't quite clicked yet, and eventually it's going to. So matchup says this is the week it's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong. I do like the matchup quite a bit here.
No, I agree with you too. And it seems like the Bears are pretty susceptible to allowing a bunch of points to pass catching running backs.
I gotta give you a hand. I gotta give you a hand.
Being able to say that word.
That's his word. You can never say susceptible.
Yeah, usually kills me there. But
heading on back, Dylan.
Heading over to the wide receiver side of things, Joe. Brandon Ayuk, ECR wide receiver 21. Joe, you have him as wide receiver 16, which is nice because I'm a big Ayuk fan. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, look, when he's been healthy, he's been the the more targeted receiver there, and he's performed. There's just no really other question about it. When Ayuk's on the field, Debo's kind of taken a little bit of a back seat so far this season. So that's why I've got those two ultimately swapped.
Yeah, 4 spots different. You have Ayuk at 16. You have Debo as wide receiver 20.
Yeah. So, I mean, both very, very good players. Don't get me wrong. We just, I mentioned it in the usage article that I wrote on Tuesday that, without Ayuk, we saw just how much more utilized Debo is in this offense. And now Ayuk's back. I really don't think we're going to see that again. It goes back to more of a split, slightly in favor of Ayuk so far this year. So
Sure.
That's where I'm going.
Yeah, it's not like you're hating on Debo or anything. You still have him as wide receiver 20, so he's a wide receiver 2, which he is in most lineups anyways. But this next guy here, Joe, this surprised me a little bit when I was going through it. It's Mr. DeAndre Hopkins, ECR wide receiver 29. So the site is definitely down on him. You have him as wide receiver 23.
Yeah, honestly, you kind of caught me on this one. So projections like Hopkins quite a bit for some reason. I probably will tweak this one a little bit more before kickoff.
Okay.
I don't agree with the projections. I need to lower him more because he's seeing volume, but it's been bad. Tannehill is just getting, pressure left and right. Can't really seem to get a whole lot behind the ball. It just seems like, I want to say too that, excuse me. Let me see here. Let me look at something real quick. I mean, in Cincinnati, kind of middle of the road as far as defense. I think they're better than they've played for some of this season so far. I just with the Bengals, I don't know why I can't click on something right now. Stupid computer. All right. Anyway, not important apparently. Yeah, I mean, look, we saw last week Cincinnati come out and really make a statement on defense here, kind of shutting down that Rams offense that everybody was really excited about. They let up a couple big plays, but other than that, it was pretty well in hand for them. So you got to think against a Tennessee offense that's really struggling, they're going to be able to clean up again this game. And I just don't really see how Hopkins matches the ranking that I have for him right now. So I will probably be dropping him.
Gotcha. All right. Right on. Then the last guy here for you, the dreaded tight end position. And man, oh man, has it been ugly this year so far. And the guy I want to talk about is Hunter Henry, ECR tight end 11. Caught a touchdown the first 2 games of the season. Had a little bit of a bummer last week. But Joe, you have him as tight end 14. So you don't even want him in your starting lineup this week. Is it just because it's Dallas?
I mean, it's Dallas. They're allowing, not that there's a whole lot of points going around to the tight end position all across the league right now, but I mean, 3.5 points right now on average. If I switch that to maybe even just switch out to half PPR just to make sure here. 6 points to the opposing tight end. I mean, look, you are truly banking on a touchdown from Henry in order to get into the top 12. And I don't know if that happens against the Dallas Cowboys defense that I think they're going to come out and really play their asses off today after getting
embarrassed.
Shall we say embarrassed?
Yes,
by the Cardinals last weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not it's not looking good for him. I do want to say one thing, and I will be adjusting this pretty soon too. We just learned that Deshaun Watson's out.
Yeah, that's surprising. Yeah, we touched on that a little bit. With
We will be adjusting all of the Browns offensive players. Moving forward. That's going to be interesting. That kind of came out of nowhere. Right?
It was a surprise. Yeah, there was a little talk that he was having shoulder soreness earlier in the week and was limited in practice and stuff. But they said he was a game time decision, and I thought I saw last night that he was expected to play.
They expected him. Yeah, they expected him.
Interesting. Yeah, I was. That one surprises me, especially with Derek Carr's going to tough it out after an AC joint injury.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure, man.
And he didn't get that guaranteed money.
So I will be swapping my pick from the Browns to the Ravens. I had it that way originally too, but I don't think so.
Yeah, Alan said that he had a bet in on Cleveland already too, that he can't get refunded or anything. So he's just rolling with that. But he also said he's a big DTR fan, so he doesn't think it's going to be a huge killer. So it'll be interesting to watch the rookie play a little bit. But Joe, before we get you out of here, Jamie does have a question for you.
So he joined us on the show last night because we had to reschedule it for Saturday because of the wedding.
Okay.
And he asked us, he goes, A-Chain or Gabe Davis PPR? And so this is before the A-Chain news came out this morning that he is going to get at least a bigger workload because of last week. We all said Gabe. He didn't agree with us. He was going with A-Chain. He was curious your thoughts. I think it changes a little bit now that news comes out, but that is just news. It's, you know what I mean? It's just
it's
news.
Also just news. Like we don't actually like it's coach speak, right? Sometimes you take it with a grain of salt. I
want to say McDaniels is trustworthy. But yeah, we went with Gabe last night.
I mean, right now the projections do have Gabe Davis slightly higher. I mean, it is slim margins. We're talking like 10.9 to 10.1. Look, man, if you really want to trust Achane coming off of that huge game, I get it. I also am not usually one to chase points. We do know this game's probably going to be, at least on paper right now, it's pretty high scoring projected. So I would think that you can probably take more advantage of this Miami defense than you can a Bills defense. So I would lean Gabe Davis. But the upside play is probably Achane. So yeah. I get it.
Yep, I get it as well. Joe, but before you get out of here, anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, you guys usually say it all. So yeah, just jump over to fantasysixpack.net/plans. Sign up today to become a member. We've got our award-winning rankings over there. We've got all the DFS stuff from Chris Robbin and Mr. Dave Eddy over there on Discord, giving you guys just fire advice, man. I don't play a whole lot of DFS, as everybody kind of knows who watches and listens to me on Twitter and stuff like that. But I just took Dave's advice and plugged in a bunch of guys that he recommended, and I doubled my money last week. It was that easy. It really was. He's been doing it all season so far, so keep it up, man.
And he's fast with it too, because as soon as Jimmy G got ruled out, he took Devontae Adams out of his player pool.
Oh yeah.
So he's quick with it too. He ain't gonna leave you hanging.
Yep. All right, guys. You have a good day.
All right, Joe. You too.
You as well. Good luck in
your matchups.
Hopefully you're top 5 again.
Peace. See you guys.
All right, and now we're gonna bring on our third guest for the start sit hour. Normally it is Jordan, but we've got our full-time, replacement whenever we need a sub here. Welcome in, Keith. How's it going?
It's 17-0. I hate being a Falcons fan.
We
it's
knew.
Miserable, man.
I don't know if you were watching the show earlier, but we wanted to talk to you about the Falcons a little bit. Just kind of get your thoughts.
I'm curious, Keith. I've kind of been. I thought Atlanta. I'm still thinking Atlanta's has a pretty solid team, and I think their bugaboo is the quarterback position. And since the offseason, I was thinking, I'm definitely not super high on Ritter, so I'm like, mate, what about Heineke? Do you think at some point that they're going to keep battling for this division? Do you think at some point we could see a quarterback change to Taylor Heineke just to see if he can kind of get a spark in this offense similar to what he did in Washington for the Commanders? Or do you think that they just keep riding with Desmond Ritter?
I mean, it's going to be tough because our schedule is so easy. And I've been saying this all year that we're going to win like 8 to 10 games because of the QBs we face. Like Rodgers was one of the 4 tough ones that we face all year. He's out. Yep. So after Lawrence this week, and I was including Golf last week, Cousins is the last above average quarterback we face this season. I mean, it's really crazy when you look at it. I mean, some of these rookies, like Stroud, Richardson, they look good, but I'm not, terrified playing first-year QBs. And that's why I worry that if they just kind of continue to win the games that they're supposed to, they're going to want to give Riddler a full shot. But, yeah, I mean, as a Falcons fan, I'm frustrated. We should have gone after Lamar this season. I don't understand why they didn't with the offense.
Heck, even Derek Carr would have been all right to go after.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, Arthur Smith needs a mobile quarterback. Like that's when he's at his best. And I think if you give him Lamar Jackson with Bijan and Pitts and I mean, like that could have been made us an NFC contender. And instead, we're just like my Atlanta Hawks, we're just good enough to piss you off.
I mean, Lamar Jackson does target Mark Andrews. Maybe Kyle Pitts would have been more involved too.
Exactly. And I'm still furious about the Carter selection. I was mad the second that it happened.
Yeah.
Like you win in the NFL up front on the offense and defensive lines, and we just never learn that. Like we rarely have an elite offensive line. Like we've had a few good ones over the years. Our defensive line's always awful.
Wasn't bad. But after Matt Ryan,
but I mean, if you look at Ryan, like the defense was always terrible. I mean, like the average, I think, defense for him was 23rd for his time in Atlanta. So again, Ryan needs more respect for, we won a good bit that time, definitely. 2 conference title games, but you can't miss on that. And I just think about Grady Jarrett with him, with Carter. And then, Bates has been a great, so, I mean, I just think that it'd be a whole different team. And Bijan's unbelievable, but we already had a good running back. We've proven we can run. Patterson was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago. Like we can find running backs in Arthur Smith offense. It's frustrating. You go tight end, wide receiver, running back when you don't have a quarterback. You can't pass rush, and you don't have like an above average offensive line.
Yep. As a Bears fan, when Jalen Carter fell to them at 9, I was all about it, and I wanted them to take him as well. And then they trade out of it. It's like, oh. No.
And the rich just get richer. That's why the Eagles are who they are. They're smart.
Exactly.
They saw arguably the number 1 guy in the draft was falling. We'll take him.
But one more question about this, and then we can move on, Mike. Sorry.
You're fine.
With the way things are trending in Chicago, there's been a little bit of chatter about maybe if Justin Fields and the Bears move on from one another this offseason, that maybe Justin Fields could be an option for the Falcons with him being a Georgia guy at all. Eddy grew up as a Falcons fan. Does that intrigue you at all?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Desmond Ritter right now, hell yeah, he does. Like I know Fields is awful passing, but I think Arthur Smith is the kind of coordinator where he would know how to use Fields. And, just with all of our weapons, who knows? And Fields was awful in Georgia. And a lot of that was because Kirby would not change his, play calling or the offensive scheme, even when they brought him in. He goes to Ohio State. He's much better. I feel like Chicago's done a terrible job kind of utilizing what Fields excels at. I'm not saying he's an above average passer of the ball. He's not. But the blueprint was at Ohio State that you spread the field, you let him kind of be Justin Fields, and he can be pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But no, I don't mean to cut it off because that is good info about the Falcons, but we do have some.
Yeah, nobody else
questions.
gives a shit, and I get that.
Well, us fantasy players do a little bit because we just want to see Pitts, London, heck, even Ritter. We want to see them succeed, but it's like they're not being put into a successful spot. All right, but let's start off here because we had Dion at 9:44 hit us up with the start sit question.
Hey,
he needs
Dion.
one. Yep. Hey, what's up, man? He needs one between Ayuk, Jordan Addison, and Mike Evans. And then he needs 2 out of Mixon, Swift, Kamara, and Jerome Ford. And a flex. Okay, so we're starting 4 here. But you have to choose 3. 1 from the wide receivers, 2 from the running
For
backs.
me,
and then
it's easy.
just 1.
You can take Mixon out. The Titans it's impossible
Yeah.
to run on the Tennessee Titans. I don't want anything of any running back
I
ever
agree.
against them. I do want receivers.
18 yards allowed to Ford last
Yeah.
week.
So to me, you take him out immediately. I would much rather have Swift and Kamara. And then, I mean, especially if Debo sits, Ayuk to me is a must play. And as much as I like Addison, Evans is, target volume, all that stuff, much higher. And, Kirk Cousins is still a different QB outdoors. Me and Joe talk about this on our DFS show all the time.
Yes.
Cousins indoor all day, every day. He's in my lineups. Cousins outdoors, I don't want it. He might have the occasional good game, but normally I think it's like 7 less points per game in fantasy last year or outdoors compared to indoor. So I would remove Addison and Mixon.
That's like as extreme as Jared Goff was last year with the home road splits.
They're the 2 that it's crazy.
I go Ayuk. You start Ayuk. I'm with you on Swift and Kamara, and then my flex is Evans.
Yep. I'm there as well with you guys as well.
All right, you got some good options though, Dion. I like it.
Yeah,
I like that
definitely
lineup.
does.
Our team for sure.
All right, and then Richard here. We got full PPR. He needs a flex. Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, or Damian Pierce. I didn't mistake you with Alec Pierce this time.
That a
took 4
boy.
weeks.
That one's easy for me. It's Mike Evans.
Yeah,
He's
you
getting he's getting a ton of targets. He's getting the value targets in the red zone. The highest.
The Saints got great
targets.
corners.
I'm more
but
worried
I
about
still-
his history with Lattimore. That's the only thing I'm worried. No, when your other option was Jerome Ford or Mike Evans, all right. I do like Damian Pierce a little bit more than Ford this week. But it's PPR. I would lean Mike Evans. He's been the favorite target for Baker. It's just don't be surprised if he does struggle a little bit because that matchup, it's like 50-50. Flip a coin of if he does well or just
The
does
difference,
terrible.
though, right, is that I would be shocked if Michael Thomas has like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're going to be cussing
You'd be
yourself
shocked. Yeah.
if Mike Evans has that game and
Well,
you
he can have
bench him
3
really for a
touchdowns with
second
150.
receiving option with Kamara coming back, who should take some of the targets away from every Saints receiver.
I'm just worried about because I always worry about because Mike Evans
Great
and Lattimore,
London.
they have.
Yep.
They got. Oh, did he get a
Drake
touchdown?
London touchdown. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I had to start him somewhere.
I got him in a few different places that
I legit had to start him in one of my flexes. It wasn't fun. But all right, so on to the next one here. Oh, Dion again. What were you gonna say, Dylan?
I was just gonna say maybe we're getting more and more confident in being able to start Drake London with back-to-back weeks. He scored a touchdown last week too, right? Didn't he?
He's really good.
Yeah, he's extremely talented. That's for sure.
Talk about Mike Evans. He's like Mike Evans, honestly. Just I don't know if he's.
Version.
He doesn't
I don't
have
know
the
if
speed, but
that's what I was
he
getting
gets
at.
open though. Like it's kind of crazy. He's not even considered this like elite route runner, but I don't understand how somebody who's that big and not super fast, and if you look, he's open all the time.
Yep.
It's got to be the scheme. Just kidding.
Well, if it is, can we scheme some of that into Cal Pitts?
Please,
I had
please.
to make that joke.
Seems like a damn miracle every time Pitts catches a pass.
It really does. Oh no, I think he just got a. Did he just get a target right there?
But our next question here, I'll help you out, Mike. We get from
Thank you.
Dion again. We got Herbert or Josh? Brock Purdy, Josh Purdy. Jeez.
Come on,
Justin
Josh
Herbert.
Purdy.
Brock Purdy. Who you got there?
I still want Justin Herbert over Purdy.
Yeah.
If this was a different option besides Herbert, maybe like Goff or Purdy, but I mean Goff already played, but just that type of tier. Herbert's like tier 1. If you're in that tier 2 with Purdy, then it's like, all right, go for Purdy. He's got higher upside with the weapons and the offense. But Herbert's just way safer, and he has a higher ceiling.
Very good matchup.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that too, Keith. Yeah, very, very good against the Raiders. So,
and I actually like Eckler not being there. I just think that means they have to throw more because they really haven't been able to run without him.
20 targets to Keenan Allen after that Mike Williams injury last week. Are we going to see it again?
I think so.
We're going to see double digits.
If the Raiders keep up, for sure. Like if Aiden ends up, doing that, that would be kind of maybe my one concern. But I think Herbert's.
I'm actually shocked.
Start him always.
I'm actually shocked that Aiden's going to get the start. I really thought it was going to be
I don't
Hoyer.
think you should be shocked, man. I watched a lot of Aiden in college, and I think his game translates more to the NFL style. So I'm okay with it. And he had a good preseason. Hoyer is just kind of like we said on the show last night. He's 100, man. So it's just like
I get it. I get it, but I'm just kind of shocked because Hoyer was always with McDaniels in New England. He knew him, he trusted him type of deal. And it's more of like like you said, Aiden O'Connell had a good preseason. So did Kenny Pickett. Look at that offense right now. So
but look what Stidham did last year, right? When he came in,
he's got the weapons.
I think that Aiden's a good play today in DFS, especially like in afternoon slates. Why not? You can stack him with both receivers that way. If Adams and Myers are getting like 90% of the first read targets. So, and if you don't think they're going to try to get the ball to those guys early. With a rookie QB, I just I think he's got some, and the Chargers are horrible versus the pass, horrible.
And I said it on the show last night too. Sorry to cut you off, Mike, but the Chargers should blow them out. But it's like the Chargers are always going to Charger. So this game, especially with it being a division game, it's going to probably stay pretty close throughout.
You're all good. I was just going to move on to our next question here.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's our first defensive question. Bengals defense against the Tennessee Titans or the Chargers defense against Aiden O'Connell-led Raiders?
Question.
I actually think I lead the Bengals defense on that one. I know it's a good matchup, and usually you play it against Aiden O'Connell, first start type of deal. But, man, that Tennessee
I think Aiden throws it better than Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean, that Tennessee offense looks inept right now. They're always down, and Tannehill still can't even complete really 65% of his passes.
Just looks like he's got dead arm right now.
Yeah,
it's definitely not good stuff from Tannehill.
I lean the Bengals defense. You're looking for turnovers, sacks. You're gonna get sacks against Tannehill. I mean, he threw 3 picks his first week, so I mean it's capable. We don't know if Aiden. You might be right. Aiden O'Connell might come out and he might just game manage. Maybe he doesn't even turn the ball over.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals defense here as well.
Europe holds off United States rally to reclaim Ryder Cup. All right.
This proves the Ryder Cup does not start on Saturday. We need to remind the Americans of that next year.
That's funny. What's up, Bob Dole? It's always nice to see you here. He's got a lineup question for us. He needs 2. Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Hopkins. This one's actually easy for me. It's Lockett and Evans. Godwin's been struggling, and he's been getting targets, but it's just, man, if I haven't checked out, but that A-dot can't be good with Godwin. And he's not producing with him. And then Hopkins, we already talked about that offense is just, so it's Lockett and Evans. Dylan?
There's just no ceiling for Chris Godwin right now. And it just,
is there even a floor?
I mean, he's floating
around like PPR leagues for sure.
Floor,
yeah,
right?
It's a trap floor. Yeah. It's a trap floor. He's projected 12 in a PPR league, but he's probably going to get me 8. Yeah. So I'm not even kidding you. I took out Godwin this week in my big, money home league. I took him out for Tank Dell.
Oh, for sure.
That's fair. Totally fair.
Follow the hot hand. I mean,
much better quarterback, higher target share. Like to me, that's a no-brainer. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the much better quarterback.
He is. I'm not disrespecting Baker, but Stroud is much better.
Sure.
You watch him throw and watch Baker throw.
But yeah, I'm trying to find a replacement if I got Godwin in other places, but I understand if it's between Godwin and Hopkins, give me Godwin then.
I'm with Lockett and Evans here, the 2 guys.
Yep, Lockett and Evans. Lock it up. And then usual QB question. Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson?
What a great draft.
Right. I'll let you start here, Keith. What do you think?
I mean, to me, Hurts is the cheat code. I said this last week. If you have Jalen Hurts and are not starting him, I think you're always playing with fire because we've seen this since his first year, those last like 4 starts, he was awful and still scored, I think, 20 points or more in every game. And the Browns defense is legit. I don't think enough is being made of that. So it's a bad matchup for Lamar. I still think by the end of the season, Lamar turns more into like a Jalen Hurts where we get back to where you can almost guarantee 20 points from each week. And if that's the case, I would trade Lamar because I just like Hurts' upside so much more week to week with 2 stud receivers. I mean, you see the holes that offensive line's creating. For me, it's always Jalen Hurts.
Yep, I'm with you. Jalen Hurts for me as well. Hey, the matchup for Lamar here against Cleveland, it's no joke. I think they've allowed the defense has allowed 1 touchdown and like 3 trips inside.
No team's got 10 first downs in a game yet versus them. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, their defense has been on one. The one thing is, though, they have struggled against mobile quarterbacks, so I'm curious to see how that matchup works. But, yeah, give me Jalen Hurts and that tush push. Or what are they trying to rename it? The brotherly push?
I didn't see that.
Something like that.
That play will be outlawed by the start of next season.
I was surprised it didn't get outlawed.
The owners did not vote to outlaw it. It was the owners that kept it in play this year, which was what shocked me the most. But
I think though another year of it, and we're seeing more teams do it. I have a feeling this play is eventually going to be illegal because I mean it's pretty much kind of a cheat. I mean, like I don't know how you stop it with a guy like Hurts size. I would put like a big running back and do the same thing on the one.
Wildcat. Yeah. Almost do it like Derrick Henry a little bit.
Yep, exactly.
Dude, I mean, Jalen Hurts, if I remember the last time I saw him, he squats like 500 pounds. Like,
so
how do you stop that? Like, I remember, I think it was Nick Chubb was doing like 600. It's like, this guy's a quarterback and he's only doing 100 less than Chubb.
Just a freak.
He is a freak. Good freak, though. Good freak. Dion's got a good one for us. Josh Allen, Tua, or Burrow, got them all. And then he needs one between the defense, Buffalo defense or Steelers defense.
Give me Josh Allen here for the Allen here for the quarterback against Miami's definitely can be beat up through the air right now. And that game has all the potential to be a shootout as well. So I know Tua is another option there, but I'm going to take Josh Allen as well with that rushing floor.
We need to stop saying that's going to be a shootout because we're jinxing it. We're putting it into the air. That's not going to be a shootout. It's going to be a slugging
21-17 division game. Yeah.
Tua's been rough on the road though, and like
he's been rough.
Josh Allen is the safe play, but I actually like Joe Burrow. Anytime I can get a QB versus Tennessee, they give up so many passing yards and touchdowns. This is going back to the start of last season, and we kind of saw that Bengals team. They just kind of found a rhythm, it felt like, in that second half with that passing attack. And to get the Titans, my favorite stack this week is going with Burrow, Higgins, and Chase in DFS because I just think they have a monster game.
They have the best, like Burrow has the best matchup to get back on track against the Tennessee Titans because you can't run the ball. All you can do is throw the ball. It's just – I am still a little worried about that calf.
Allen is the much safer play for sure.
Yeah, that's the only thing. But Burrow definitely has one of those primo matchups this week, and you're pretty much going to be starting every quarterback you have against the Titans.
And Dion, I would trade one of those guys for sure because it's just going to make it harder on you each week having 3 guys to pick from to where, like, whichever one you can get the most back for. I would get rid of because, I mean, you're going to be okay if you get to pick between 2 of those guys each week.
I actually think this week, though, that Allen is going to be the better quarterback in that matchup against Tua. I know Tua's been on fire, but Tua does struggle against Buffalo. And like Allen said earlier, he does not win against Buffalo.
1-5, right?
Yeah, not good. That defense just has his number. And then talking about the defense, he needs to know Buffalo's defense against the Dolphins or Steelers against the Texans.
It's got to be the Steelers, right? I mean, Stroud might come in throw for 350, but that offensive
might-
line is pretty brutal.
They're going to
from
get
what
sack
we've
points
seen.
for sure. J.J. Watt is having his number retired. So if you think T.J. Watt doesn't have at least 3 sacks or more, you're crazy versus that Texans offensive line. Yeah, for me, it's easy. It's the Steelers.
Yeah,
it is the Steelers, and it wouldn't be
sweet.
shocked if Stroud does have an all right day, but also throws like a pick or two, or even maybe has a fumble just because of how bad that line is and how fast
he's taken at least 4 sacks. He's been sacked 4 times or more in 2 or 3 games. As good as he's been, like their offensive line gives up pressure. Steelers are as good as any team in the league.
Yep.
Like you're going to get a guaranteed probably 6 to 8 points off of sacks. And then if it's a fumble, touchdown, or pick six or whatever, now you're talking about it's a real good day.
I'll tell you what, though, for all the pressure he's getting and all those sacks that he is taking, he has not once blamed it on his team. He has taken every little bit of responsibility. Yeah, I did not expect that. And he is a great leader so far, to not be, look at Zach Wilson last year throwing the defense under the bus. And we're talking about a much worse defense here in Houston. So
we should have known though when he torched Georgia. Like it's been a pretty good sign in the last couple of years if the QB torches Georgia. That they can play.
Yeah,
they got a good one in him.
Yeah, he just his thing was processing, and you can definitely tell that he's a very solid processor already as a rookie. That's for sure.
Yeah, very fast. All right, on to the next one. All in one show. He needs to start 3, and he's got some good options here. Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, or Puka Nacua. It is PPR.
Keith, I'll let you start if you're ready.
Waddle out for sure. I can't sit Diggs. I can't sit Olave. They get way too high of a target share, like volume. And
are you worried at all that Olave just won't get deep targets with the AC joint sprain that Derek Carr's going to be playing with? Maybe they're going to
find a way to get him the ball. Like that's just he is by far. He's I think the best receiver in that class. Which again, London's great, Wilson's great.
Wilson, yeah.
That dude is like I've seen him a good bit being a Falcons fan. Like he's pretty much unstoppable. And Carr is a really good, deep down the field thrower.
I'm just worried about the AC joint. Maybe he's more inaccurate with the deep throws, this game type of deal. And he's more getting just the underneath stuff, which is still going to work in PPR. Like he's probably still going to get 10 plus targets.
Buffalo's going to take Waddle away though. I promise you, like most teams that have had success versus Miami, even though you would think it's Tyreek, it's actually Waddle who they take away. And so then the defense shifts towards Tyreek and then it's okay. Where else are you going? And that's kind of been where Tua struggles. I'm saying this, Waddle will have like 200 yards touchdowns, but I just think the volume of the other 3 is out of this world. Puka, this is the last week too. You're going to get with him. So I'm starting Tutu and Puka this week in any league I have them because starting next week, it's going to be a mess.
It's Diggs and Nacua 100% for me. I'm teeter-tottering between Olave and Waddle because they both are kind of dealing with their own form of an injury. Waddle with the concussion, Olave with the AC joint to Derek Carr. So I am more worried about just getting because we saw it last year with Tua. When you get one concussion, it's just as easy to get that second one. So maybe sit Waddle this week. Just see how he comes back from that concussion. I'm starting Olave. Diggs.
Great draft though, because that means he nailed 3 receiver picks in a row. Great.
Yeah,
and then he top waiver claim too.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. But go ahead, Mike. That's fine.
I was just gonna say Dion's got another one here for us. He needs 2 in a flex. He's got Dalvin Cook, or is that James Cook, Dion? I assume James Cook, but clarify for us, please. DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, and Miles Sanders and A-Chain. Damn, that's a lot of options.
Swift's automatic for me.
Yeah,
good matchup. You look at it, his last 8 games with 10 plus carries, 855 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns. His issue has always been volume. And he hasn't even broke a big one yet, which is really scary for a touchdown. That's coming if you've seen the size of those holes that the Eagles are creating and how fast Swift hits it. So to me, he's a must start. And
I'm worried about that
James
that
Cook
line for the Commanders, though, this week against Swift. That line is not to mess with. It's hard to run against that front for Washington.
I don't know, man. The Eagles' offensive line is, I think, the best in football.
It is.
Just
It absolutely
manhandle
is.
everybody,
But I feel like the Commanders' D line is probably top 5 in the NFL. Like that is that's my only thing that kind of scares me away from Swift this week, and also the fact that we know the Eagles at any point could go, you know what, Gainwell, get the hell in there.
Well, I think they're going to continue to devy the carries, but again, Swift is such an electric back, and he's just perfect for that offense because he's so good up the middle. He hits the hole so hard.
He's good for him now because
he's going to get 10 plus carries. He's great. Yeah, I don't like it season long because I'm worried he's going to get hurt if he keeps getting this volume for sure.
Yep.
It's Kamara, and it's reluctantly Swift for me just because of the offense. I think is better between the Eagles, the Bengals, and the Panthers.
Does it change anything if that's James Cook?
It is James Cook. Dion did confirm that it is James Cook. Yep.
I know it changes Dylan's answer.
James Cook has moved into must-start territory for me. He's getting volume, the pass volume as well. It's just not we knew he wasn't going to be a red zone back coming in. That's just not his thing, but he's getting at all the other touches. He's getting enough volume for sure.
As a Georgia fan too, it hasn't happened yet, but I promise you, if he keeps getting this kind of volume, he's going to break big plays because he did it all the time at Georgia, both in the passing and the run game.
Yep.
And he's had a few that have been close already this season. So kind of like with Swift, I feel like he's due for a 40, 50 yard either touchdown run or catch. Kamara, I think if it's PPR, for sure I would start him.
Yeah.
If it's
absolutely.
not, I want to see, what kind of workload he's going to get.
Mm-hmm. With you having to sit Kamara for 3 weeks, you are just shoving him in that lineup unless you have just a rock solid option ahead of him. But out of these ones, it's not like rock solid. So it's Kamara, Swift, and Cook for me as my 3 that I'm starting.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. Yep, that's where I would go.
All right. Ooh, this one's a nice one. Who has a better matchup this week? Russell Wilson against the Bears or Lamar Jackson against the Browns? If we're talking strictly matchup, it's Russell. Mm-hmm. If you're playing the Bears, you might as well be playing the Atlanta Battlehawks. It's a get-right game. So I do think Russell probably has a decent day, although we were talking about, I said this last night. I mean, when we get a team where it's like the Broncos facing the Bears, that's a great matchup. But then on the other side, it's the Bears facing the Broncos. That's a great matchup as well. It might just be a shit game overall.
Yeah, it really might. But I love the matchup for Russell Wilson here. But can you really sit Lamar for Russell Wilson even with the matchup? That's the tough thing for me that I'm struggling with here. And I think when in doubt, I'm just going to go with the more talented guy right now who has the rushing floor. And I think you still roll out Lamar.
Are any of those O-linemen out for the Ravens? They had 2 that were questionable earlier in the week. For me, if 1 or 2 of them is out, I think I would go with Russell. They're throwing 33 times a game. The Bears are giving up almost 9 yards per attempt on the passing. They've given up 7 touchdowns, 4th most passing yards in the league. And if you don't think the Broncos will run it up today, like after last week, I promise you, they want to get right in the worst way. And it's a great opponent for that. So, again, if Lamar has his full offensive line, I agree with you. You have to start him just because of the rushing upside. But if 1 or 2 of them out versus that Browns front, I don't know, man. That's a tough ask. Yeah,
it is. And to piggyback on your Bears talk too, the Bears are missing their Eddy Jackson's out today. Jalen Johnson was ruled out already, and they're missing Kyler Gordon, who's their starting nickel corner. They lost Josh Blackwell, who's their second string nickel corner, so they're down to their 3rd guy. Brisker? Yeah, he's there, but they're missing 3 guys. And
he's the only one.
Linderbaum is still questionable, so I need to find out if he's out. Because like I said, if he's out, he's arguably their best offensive lineman. He's their center. That would be where I'd maybe,
it's insane that he's arguably their best offensive lineman already, isn't it?
Last
year he was a rookie. It's only 2nd year now. So
the Ravens take a guy, they're going to be good. I mean, especially in the
I'm still waiting for David Ojabo. I'm waiting for Ojabo, the red shirt guy they got last year. We're still waiting. I know he's coming off the ACL, but that's another steal. They're another good team like the Eagles that know how to draft.
Yep.
All right, we got another defensive here. Bengals defense against the Titans or Denver D against the Bears, Dylan?
I think it's still the Bengals defense we talked about with Tannehill and stuff. I get it, but can you be comfortable with the defense that just gave up 70 points last week? I don't think you can. I don't think you can go there. I'm sure Denver's going to get to Fields a couple times for sack points and stuff because holds the ball too long. Bears offensive line is bad, but
I really want to
I'd
know
still
what
leave the
that
Bengals.
point total was for the Denver D last week, giving up 70 points and 700 yards.
I think
wanna
they
know how
actually were
negative-
still positive because of like this. They had that a kick return for a touchdown by Mims.
That absolutely put them positive, and probably not very much.
That makes sense.
That is wild. Dion's got another
By the
one
way,
here.
3rd and 14. This is how much we trust Desmond Ridder or Arthur Smith is. He tries to throw it to Bijan on a 1 yard, kind of just get it out in the outside the numbers and go. They did it again on 4th and 19 after a holding call.
No.
Oh my
Jesus.
God.
Use Drake London, God.
Let
Kyle
Ridder
Pitts.
throw it. I mean, what? I don't understand it. You're down 10. This is what drives me crazy about Arthur Smith. Sorry, I digress.
No, you're
No,
good.
I mean, it drives us all crazy in the fantasy community. You're down 10 points, and you're just, you know what? We're going to go with the 1 yard pass. Dion's got Tutu Atwell here, Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, or Jacoby Myers. It needs one. I'm out on Myers with Aiden O'Connell starting. Jeudy is a little appealing when you're going against the Bears with all those injuries. But I
think it's Mike Evans. I think he's done enough. I talked about it on the show last night.
He
Mike.
has.
He's done enough to earn your trust here. And I know Clayton had a comment earlier. I don't know if you saw. He said, there it is. Can't wait for the Evans-Lattimore yearly boxing match.
That's true. Is he going to get ejected again? That's what I'm afraid of.
I actually am going with Atwell here.
Okay.
Stafford is such a good QB indoors because I'm a stat nerd. Went back and looked his last 13 games indoors, 24 passing touchdowns, at least one in each, averaging 286 yards per. Atwell, 26 targets, 12th among wide receivers in routes run. And the Colts defense this year to wide receivers, 48 receptions, 572 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Ooh.
Atwell should have scored twice last week. I really do. I love, again, for a stack today, the Stafford, Atwell, Puka on like DK or even FanDuel. I think I think that game's going to be a sneaky shootout.
I like it. Mike, you're muted, I think.
Rookie mistake. But he is right. Colts allow the second most points to wide receivers when it comes to PPR. I look at it like this. Hey, Dion, if you had to play David Montgomery this week, if you went up against that monster who just dropped just absolute points, play Tutu Atwell. Go chase that ceiling. Playing the Colts, you get Stafford inside. I think Mike Evans is safer, though. If you want to play it safe, just go Mike Evans. But if you're down big because you had to play like Montgomery or, maybe even – I don't know, Jared Goff. I honestly, I don't. It's one of those ones where it's like a ceiling floor situation. Give me the ceiling in Atwell if you need the, chase the points. But if you want to play it safe and you just need, a solid 15 points, I think Evans just.
We'll say the Saints last week, Thielen just fucking killed them. Kind of a similar receiver to Evans, with his size and stuff. So. But I really worry about just New Orleans has such a good defense. I think Tampa's kind of been exposed. People now know what Baker can and can't do. And I just think that Evans is the safer play and probably has just as much upside, but I think it's a lot less likely he has a big game than Atwell does versus the Colts.
Yeah, the odds, I think, of a big game is definitely more in Atwell's favor. It's like
tough
you said,
to sit Evans, the volume,
like you
right?
said, yeah. If Evan gets 150 and
you're
2
tutties,
you're gonna be pissed off.
We just got some actives, inactives, guys. I just want to throw these at you. Officially active: Derek Carr, David Njoku, Justice Hill, Miles Sanders, all good to go day. The inactives: Deshaun Watson and Chase Claypool. After his comments earlier this week, when asked about if they were using him to the best of his abilities, and he just says, no.
What's most shocking is that the Steelers missed on a wide receiver because it never happens, ever.
Right, I know.
And they whiffed
true.
on Claypool.
Yep.
And they knew about it, and they shipped him out for a second round.
To their credit, you're right.
Yeah,
got Joey Porter for him.
I will say this, though.
Joey Porter Jr., so.
Bears are struggling and need to get any help they get, and they're just going to bench probably top I mean, he is. I'll give him talent. Maybe he hasn't put it all together.
The effort, though, is the issue. Like I've seen some videos where he's just. It looks like I don't ever want to say I know what somebody's trying to do or not do, but he looks like he's kind of loafing around.
But, I mean, so DJ Moore kind of gave you those vibes last week.
Yeah, DJ Moore was a butthead last week. I guess there was some lazy routes from him as well. But Chicago's just a mess right now. And Mike, they're gonna deactivate Claypool. They're gonna start activate Equinemius St. Brown, and I think the Bears are just gonna try to run it down the Denver's throat, if I'm being honest with you.
I think Fields has his monster rushing day today.
Yeah, it's very possible. That's for sure.
Odell Beckham and Rashad Bateman have been ruled out too.
Both inactive. Fire up Zay Flowers.
Tough Bateman out. What a shocker.
That's a bummer, man.
Fall for that guy every year.
Let me know if there's any other inactives that come out. Right. Dion here wants to know: are we starting Kamara or Kittle in the flex? I mean, this one's easy. This is Kamara.
I think it's Kittle if Debo doesn't
play. Really?
But yes.
Really?
If you look at the games Debo doesn't play, Kittle is a monster. Cardinals are awful versus tight ends. They were last year awful versus them. They're bad this year. I'm with you. If Debo, if it looks like Debo's playing, that's the problem is you got to play Kamara at 1. I would probably sit Kittle, but if the reports say it looks like Debo's not going to play, I would smash Kittle in any lineup.
It's just hard for I get it at a DFS perspective, I get it, but in just a redraft perspective, it is really hard to play a tight end in the flex if you're not rocking.
Who's his other tight end would be my question.
That's what I'm kind of wondering too. Yeah, who is your other tight end? Because it's just hard to sit a running back like Kamara for some position that is just super inconsistent. It's not even that I don't trust Kittle. I don't trust the position.
Again, I'd trust him if Debo's out.
Yeah. No, and I agree. Yeah. I get that. I 100% get that. Especially, I mean, I'd be smashing Kittle in lineups for especially DFS if Debo's out. Because like you said, the Cardinals are just atrocious against the tight end, and they have been since last year. Dylan, did you say who you were going to start?
Yeah, I just agree with everything Keith said. If Debo's out, fire up Kittle. If he's not, then you go Kamara. Hopefully you hear something about Debo. So
absolutely. And then All in One wants to know he's starting 2 RBs. Which ones are they? Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Devon Achane, or Jalen Warren?
I think this one's the Javonte Williams here against the bad Bears run defense.
He's the definite, right?
Yeah,
he is for me.
Yeah.
And then I think it's Achane, I think, or Achane, however he wants you to say his last name now. I'm falling into the trap a little bit. Give me him.
I wouldn't call it a trap because you're 2 other up.
Right? After what we saw last week, if you have him, if you got him on the waiver wire, you don't have great options in Hall or Warren. It's not like either one of them are safe. You're going to be kicking yourself if you got him and then set him and he has anywhere near what he did last week. So I would definitely go with the first 2, Javonte and Achane.
Yeah, I mean the 2 other options. I mean being Breece Hall and Jalen Warren, and again just a tier below of what's acceptable that you could put in place.
Poor Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, man. God, 2 of the most talented dudes in last year's draft, and they're just like the Jets stuck with Zach Wilson until they decide they're not going to be stubborn anymore. It's like you whiff
the Jets.
Yep, it's going to be Trevor Siemian revenge game against Denver next week when he's starting after just signing him this week. That made me laugh when I saw that.
That's just go and get Carson Wentz. Why not?
I did read that they're trying to relax on spending money after everything they've done. Obviously, acquiring Rodgers.
Spoken like a real loser in the NFL. Seriously, you have to spend to win. I'm not saying you shouldn't be smart about it, but you got dealt a bad hand here.
Yep.
To me, it's more wasteful not to spend more money to make a very talented roster have a chance to make the playoffs, and who knows what happens, and to just punt.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh, we got Clayton here.
Hold on. Let's answer this one for all.
This
is intriguing, Mike.
No, it was. I think this was in part 2, his last question. With starting the RBs, he says he has Akers and Taylor too, but he's kind of being patient with them.
And do you want to be? I think he's asking, should we be patient with these guys? And I think you should. I might be out on Akers though, because he's
I'm
not.
out on Akers,
We
especially if you
thought
have Jonathan Taylor. I don't want two guys that could end up just taking spots and doing nothing.
Yeah, and Akers' thing this year coming in was going to be all the volume that he was going to see in this Rams offense that was supposed to be there, and he's just not going to get that volume in Minnesota with Madison there, plus all the passing volume that Minnesota has. So, but yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I would almost like trade Taylor because you're not going to get anything for Akers. You might be able to get something for Taylor, especially with the news coming out that he doesn't even want to play for the Colts. And they're really not any closer here. But, I mean, I would almost just, like, to what Keith said, I don't want two of these guys on my roster. Maybe I'll take a chance on one. But here's the thing. You're probably going to have to cut Akers. You're not going to be trading Akers.
Mm-hmm.
You could get away with trading Taylor, I think. Get something. Get some depth. Clayton here. Would you guys rather start Derrick Henry or Dameon Pierce with the matchups this week? Tennessee against the Bengals and Dameon Pierce against the Steelers.
I can't co-sign ever putting Dameon Pierce over Derrick Henry. And I'm one of the biggest Dameon Pierce fans there is. I was telling everybody last summer, like, take Dameon Pierce. He was so good at Florida. For whatever reason, they didn't use him. But I don't care who Derrick Henry's playing and who Dameon Pierce is playing. Like, I'm going with Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry always starts off slow, too. I mean, Jace, he always starts off slow. I mean, we see it, we've seen it for the past, 2 years now where he just comes out the gates real slow, and then he picks up right around the middle of the season. So, I mean, Bengals defensive line is good at getting pass rush. I don't think they're great at stopping the run. I'd have to double check that. But, yeah, it's hard to sit Derrick Henry. He's the king of, running back volume. Now, that's his problem right now is he's not getting a lot, of the volume he has before. But, I mean, it can change just like that against the Bengals, especially when Tannehill can't throw.
The goal is going to be to keep that game close for the Titans.
Yep.
Right? We talk about their struggles against the pass, and obviously I think at the least Henry's going to get a high volume early in the game. Yeah.
Ball control, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do like Pierce this week, though, because the Steelers do struggle against the run. But, yeah, you start Derrick Henry, Clayton, and maybe just close your eyes every time you see Tajay Spears on the field.
Yeah, I'm good with Derrick Henry too, but I'm not gonna lie, I am starting to get a little nervous with him too that he might have hit the wall finally because I read somewhere he hasn't broken a tackle yet this year, and obviously that was his
that's shocking
biggest thing. Yeah, man. So it's a little worrisome there, but yeah, you're rolling out Derrick Henry still.
All right. Now we got start two wide receivers here. Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Evans, Tutu, Judy, and Higgins. Damn, these are more good options. You start Higgins,
sitting?
I think.
I mean, starting right now is my other question, unless it's just a two receiver league. Higgins, for me, is a must-play versus Tennessee last year. 2 games, 7 catches in the first one without Jamar Chase. In the playoff game with Jamar Chase, 7 catches, over 90 yards in both. He's on one of a great chance this week to do my favorite every other week. So, odd weeks, bad game, even weeks, monster games.
Sure.
And Michael Pittman, so far in the 6 quarters that Richardson's played, 30% target share from him. Volume. That would be my 2 plays. But I also love, especially if Debo doesn't play Ayuk, I love Tutu. Evans is a good option.
And I think it's Higgins because of the matchup, and I think it's Ayuk for me. I absolutely love Ayuk. So, and
I look at it. All right, I'm going to give you 2 different options here of what I would do. Floor plays are Pittman and Higgins. My apologies. Floor plays are Pittman and Evans are the floor plays. If you just want to play it safe, throw Pittman and Evans in there. The volume's just too much. If you want to reach for the ceiling a little bit, because these are all great options, I'd go Ayuk and Higgins then. Just the matchups favor them a little bit more to where the ceiling increases a little bit. But yeah, those are great fucking options. Oh, yep. I knew it. He had Travis Kelce. I just didn't want to say it. But yeah, when you have somebody like that.
Kelce and Kittle, man.
Yeah.
It's Deion with all the quarterbacks earlier, too. It's like,
that might be a different league. It could be a different league. Oh, no. Tyler's back. My last week with DJ Moore,
Hang in there, Tyler. Better days are ahead, and he hasn't absolutely killed your lineup. So, minus week 1. He's caught the touchdown last week, and I think he had he had over 100 yards the week before. So
he's the ultimate tease, though. Like
Yeah,
my
100%.
co-host Joe Matz loves DJ Moore. You look at everything should be great for him, but it just never happens the way it's supposed to, no matter what the situation. His volume has always been so high in all the places he's been that, like, I don't even know if he's that good. Because like if you're getting I think he's had at least a 25% target share like the last 4 years.
Yep.
He should be like a top 10 receiver.
It's just all the quarterback play is just
He's getting a 25% target share with the bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league.
This
one
one
that's
for
fair,
Tyler.
but DeAndre Hopkins did that. He was fine. Garrett
That's
Wilson
true.
is still making something out of nothing. Like
That's true.
I just, again, a lot of people act like he's this great player that's had bad luck. Prove it.
I hear you. And yeah, you would know too because you've watched DJ Moore for most of his career, being a Falcons fan in the NFC South.
It screams Allen Robinson vibes.
That's exactly.
Because just like not like uber talented. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Jamar Chase,
Right.
but he's not Chase Claypool.
And not saying in the right situation, he probably, like if you give him, say, I don't know, Herbert, for instance, like if he was replacing Mike Williams' number 2 option, yeah, he'd ball, like no doubt. But he also drops a lot of passes. He's just frustrating.
And like we said last week, the effort kind of lacked a little bit.
It did. It really
bad
did.
sign.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So early in the season,
Body-
quitting.
It's week
Body
3.
language.
It's week 3, and it's a nightmare there. It really is.
All right.
Next one we got Josh Allen or Tua. Oh, Mikey pulled it. Josh Allen or Tua Tagovailoa going off against each other.
I mean, I think
Josh
it's got to
Allen.
be Allen.
Yep.
I love Tua.
Yeah,
and
but
he's probably going to be mad if he has his game, but Allen is safer and I think has every bit of, the upside Tua does.
Yeah, we
Yep,
talked about
agreed.
it a little earlier. I don't know if you were here, John. But yeah, Josh Allen's going to be the better quarterback in that game today. Ooh, another defense question. I like it. Bengals defense in here a lot today. Top 3 on the waiver wire are the Chargers, Seahawks, and Texans. Would you start any of them over the Bengals defense?
I would start the Texans over the Bengals, but I would not drop the Bengals to pick up the Texans because I don't think you'll get Cincy back. I think Cincy has a good D. So I wouldn't want to drop them for 1 week when maybe the Texans are just a slightly better play because
Sure.
Pittsburgh can't seem to, do anything right
Yeah, they can't
offensively.
keep anything going, that's for sure. I think
Like,
I would stay with the Bengals D, I think, here.
I would. Absolute worst case scenario is the Bengals D gets ran all over by Derrick Henry. They're not going to get passed on. So it's like it's going to be a low scoring game, just no turnovers really. But that's absolute worst case scenario for the Bengals defense because they're not going to allow an explosion game from Ryan Tannehill.
And I just want to say, though, that is why I'm all over Aiden and the Raiders still is the Chargers let Ryan Tannehill throw all over him. He threw for like 250 yards, only had 4 incompletions. He was throwing the ball down the field, which he never does.
Right.
That Chargers secondary is awful.
Yeah,
So I do like Aiden and DFS, for like that 4K play at quarterback, which you never get.
absolute great point there. That's for sure.
All right.
Mike, we got some Discord questions from our Discord over. Guys, if you join the Discord, head on over fantasy6pack.net /plans, become an all access member. You get access to all our DFS guys over there. You get access to Joe's rankings where he's always killing it. Just make sure to do it. It's definitely worth the money. And if with everything Keith's doing, what Joe Matz is doing, Chris Robbin, they're going to make your money. They've already made my money back. It's been absolutely fantastic start. So head on over there. And plus, we've already answered these start sit questions, but we want to answer them on the show for them as well.
The nice thing is, too, is if you get in the Discord, guys, you can ask us these questions literally minutes up until lockup time. Yep. It's not just this show.
But from Ryzen here, we got start Matt Breida or Tajay Spears.
Matt Breida. I talked about it last night. The volume was actually the same with Breida and Gary Brightwell last week, but the snap percentage was just egregiously different. We had an 80% snap count for Breida compared to 18% for Brightwell.
Didn't you see most of the red zone?
And it was usually. I'm pretty sure it was
well.
in the second half too, is when he got majority of those carries for Brightwell. So it's Breida over Spears.
Desmond Ridder today on third down, 8 for 8 for 73 yards and a
Just
touchdown.
don't look at
and 5
his
first
full
downs.
stats on.
Oh, that's awesome. Next one from him, we got Jacoby Myers or Mike Evans. I think this is easy for us guys. I think it's Mike Evans, even with the tough matchup, right?
Yeah, I would kick myself. But again, if Garoppolo was playing, I would actually say Jacoby Myers because he is,
target hog so far.
Fourth among wide receivers right now in expected fantasy points. That's insane.
Yeah,
but that's the target volume he's getting, the first read looks, etc. But I'm with you. Like as high as I think, like Aiden's going to be able to move the ball, and I think Myers is going to have a good game. You again kill yourself if you look up. Mike Evans has 4 catches for 150 and 2 touchdowns, which he seems to do every time you bench him.
Everyone hated themselves last year when he did it at the end of the year.
Yeah, for everybody's championships that he was on their bench.
Yep. Yeah. So you don't want to be going through that again.
But from Pine Street Breakers, with Watson out, would you go Jordan Addison or Amari Cooper?
I would actually go Jordan Addison with Watson out. I like DTR, but we don't know how good of a thrower he is yet. Great runner, but we still need to see a little bit more from the passing game from him for me to be more confident in Amari Cooper. So I'd probably lean Addison.
Who was the other option? I'm sorry, Addison or
Amari Cooper with
Watson out. Yeah, with Deshaun Watson.
Well, actually, no, I think I'd still have to go.
Still lean Cooper?
Yeah, because Cousins is not as good outdoors, and Cooper probably will get targeted with even more targets a day with a quarterback that, who knows. To me, it's more of a bad sign for like Elijah Moore, the other Browns receivers.
I actually like Elijah Moore.
Pepper and targets.
I think and I know we differ, and that's fine. I love it about this, this game is we get differing opinions, but I actually think it benefits Elijah Moore because they've been using him close to the line of scrimmage, short passes for DTR to just kind of get his rhythm going. And then maybe Amari Cooper's more that medium to down the field type of target.
That's a very fair point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one when you get the Deshaun Watson news.
I just always look at volume, and I know for a fact that Cooper is going to see way more targets than Addison. So
it's just all targets are not created equally, and his targets are not equal when you got DTR throwing you the ball compared to Deshaun Watson. Even when Watson was throwing, those targets weren't that great.
That's fair. I think I'm gonna lead with Keith though here. I think I'm gonna go
Cooper's
Cooper as well.
safer.
Yep.
He's safer, but I think Addison, I would still it's one of those weeks where it's like, you know what? That's good enough for me to say I'll put Addison in my lineup. It's not like it's a lineup lock.
Sure.
But it's good enough for me.
Next one with Watson out, Rison's looking for a quarterback to stream. We got Derek Carr against Tampa Bay, Kenny Pickett against Houston, Bryce Young if he plays against Minnesota,
no,
Baker Mayfield against New Orleans, and Sam Howell against the Eagles defense.
Those are not good options.
Definitely not.
Give us the QBs again.
Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett, Bryce Young if he plays, Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell.
Give me Derek Carr with the AC joint sprain.
So it's
not fun.
I don't like it. I think Howell has the highest floor because of his rushing.
Sure.
But I actually would maybe drop one of those QBs and get Andy Dalton if he's out there. And I would definitely go with Andy Dalton versus Minnesota. If, Bryce doesn't play, they had scored 27 points the first 2 weeks, thrown for about 300 yards. Last week, Dalton throws for over 300 yards, scores 27 points. And, again, those receivers are not bad options. It's just when you have a small rookie quarterback, it's really risky. And Minnesota, to remind people, they gave up just to 2 receivers last week, 25 receptions for over 380 yards and a touchdown. So they can't cover.
If Bryce Young is starting, I don't like it. I like those receivers with Andy Dalton because those are the type of receivers that work off of timing.
Yep.
Timing out of their routes. Thielen, Chark, all of them. And Andy Dalton showed that he has the timing where Bryce Young is a little off on that timing still. But, I mean, that is another option. Yeah, if Bryce Young gets ruled out, go pick up Andy Dalton. He's probably going to be your best option out of those three or out of all those guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Andy Dalton if he's available as well.
But if he's not, I lean Derek Carr still. That's the thing. If Bryce Young does start, I'd go Derek Carr.
He's probably, yeah, you're right. Carr's probably actually even a little safer than Howell. I should say maybe Howell has the most upside because we've seen Philly late give up points. It's kind of like one of those garbage deals where he might end up with 15 to 20 points. Yeah, because he scores 10 in the fourth quarter or something.
Oh my gosh, we got a question here from Dean, your cousin.
Oh,
Zach Ertz or Kyle Pitts?
Kyle Pitts is already playing though.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is already playing, Dean. But our answer probably still would have been Zach Ertz. The volume for Zach Ertz is insane right now, and offense is not as bad as we thought it would be.
It is very, very solid.
But that is funny. A little late on that one, Dean.
But we got
one more. He's watching the game and he's not sure that Pitts is out there.
I'm watching it in the background, and every time I look up, it's Jonnu Smith who's catching a pass right now from Denver.
Alan said on the Toy Story that they made Pitts Mr. Potato Head, but he had no arms.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which the bad part is I believed him. I was like, did they really? He's like, no.
Oh, wow. I know this is completely off, completely different sports. Portland Trailblazers trading Drew Holiday to the Boston Celtics.
What did they give up? Did they say?
It doesn't say. It just says trading.
Holiday to the Celtics? Is that what you just said?
Holiday to the Celtics.
What a offseason they had.
What a move.
Replace Marcus Smart with Holiday. Pretty good.
That's a good one. Yep. Oh, there we go. Trading Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, 2024 Golden State Warriors first-round pick, and then a 2029 unprotected first-rounder.
Losing Robert Williams hurts with the rim protection and stuff.
If he can be healthy. But
yeah, agreed. But they got KP, so maybe he's also going to stay healthy, but
he's actually played more than people think. But yeah, I know what you mean.
In Washington for sure. Yep. But we got one more in the Discord. We got Jerome Ford or Amari Cooper in the flex for full point PPR.
Yikes. PPR, I have to go with Cooper again because of the volume. I think it's close.
Yeah, I think it's very close, and I think I would actually lean Jerome Ford against Baltimore here. What are you thinking, Mike?
I lean Ford. The volume favors him, but
he's so far had a nose for the end zone, which is
definitely. And you definitely can't bank on touchdowns, but I think he's pretty talented too, and I think we saw that when he came in for Nick Chubb. I know he didn't see it in a tough matchup last week, but when he produces in a tough matchup like it was,
I agree.
It's good to see, and it gives me confidence.
There's a reason they kept him over.
But again, I think in that league, it's another one where if you're just looking for, the higher floor to make sure you don't, get pantsed, I would go Cooper. But I definitely think Ford has a lot more upside in a game that I think the Browns are going to try to run it a lot.
But I think our time's up here, Keith. I'll let you go first here so you can finish watching your Falcons. You got anything to plug before you get out of here?
You just want to torture me a little bit. I am. You can find me on Twitter at Keith Flemming. That's KeithFlemming. Do 2 articles for the great site FantasySixpack.net each week. On Tuesdays, a DFS values play. On Fridays, a DFS stacks. Me and Joe Matz do a DFS show on Thursday night leading into the Thursday night game. We give 2 plays at each position that are 6,900 or below. Try to do one that is considered like a median play and then a value. We've been on fire to start the season, which is always good. And then on Wednesdays, I go on the Inside Drive. It's a show on ESPN Northwest Florida Radio, and basically chop up DFS for 2 segments and also give some of my favorite DFS plays for that week.
Awesome. Very nice. Make sure you check Keith out there. You follow me on Twitter at dclemens2222. You can check my work out at fantasysixpack.net, similar to Keith. I do the waiver wire every week. You can check out I do the article, and you check out my video on the YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the bell for notifications. and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't already. But all right, I'm out of here, guys.
All right. It was nice having you guys always, and I look forward to next week. But now we get the I'm not the meat of the show, but we'll call it the cherry on top.
It's the dessert, man.
Yeah,
it's the
there
good
you go.
stuff.
I like that, the dessert. But
It's the dessert for this show. But we're bringing on Corporal Eddy, Mr. Dave Eddy, and Detroit Beastie Chris Robbin here. So adios, guys. And let's bring on the dessert. What's up, guys? I'm gonna get out of your hair. It's all
The
you.
dessert. Oh,
Yeah, boy, that sounds kinky.
we're the dessert. I know. Should I
Yeah.
I should just walk in with like a whipped cream bikini or something? I don't know. what
Yeah, I
they're
was gonna
hinting
say,
at, but hey,
I feel overdressed.
I know. I'm just wearing a t-shirt, a hat, and some headphones. I'll put some whipped cream on my nips next time, and we'll get it rolling.
Hold on, I gotta fix the background here. Oh, there we go. He fixed it. All right, let's do this. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay.
What you got me for?
Yeah, thanks. There were nothing to plant. Appreciate it, though, my guy. All right, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover. Obviously, Chris and I were not together on Friday. Keith filled in very admirably, I might say. So we haven't heard from Chris yet about things, so that'll be interesting. But we always got to start with the inactives here because this is kind of a big chunk of the reason that, we come on at this particular time because we want to get you the most up-to-date information as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and get popping into these here. Oh, well, hold on. We already got some excitement here. Kelley and Phoenix.
That was probably about the
Woo.
whipped cream. The whipped cream nipples, of course. That would get anybody.
I assume so.
Sure.
I would have typed it if I wasn't on here. So
Yeah, you get to. I don't know what you're doing from the waist down, so you could.
you
have
don't
a bathing
need to.
suit on.
You don't need
Yeah.
to.
All right, get to the inactives. We're going.
I know. All right. So we got a lot of Baltimore stuff here. Justice Hill, he is active. He's playing, but wide receivers, OBJ out, Rashad Bateman out. None of this is massive news, but I think that does play a role in some of the plays. That at least I have. Like I already was really on the Browns defense. This has really helped pump that up for cash purposes. Jonathan Mingo is inactive, but Miles Sanders is going to be in. Let's see, big ones here. Deshaun Watson, that's kind of one of the two biggies, right? Deshaun Watson, he's going to be out. DTR is going to be in. I know a lot of people had, made some changes to their cash lineups because you can play a bare minimum quarterback here if you wanted to at DTR, guy who was really good in the preseason. When I get to quarterbacks, I will go ahead and address that because I think it's a bigger conversation than just him because we also have Jimmy G out, which means Aiden O'Connell will be stepping in. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of Aiden O'Connell. I'm seeing a whole bunch of DTR being sliced in. I'll get to my thoughts on that. We'll get Chris's thoughts on that when we get to quarterback as well. Tyler Higbee is active. I think he's going to be a little bit limited, but he is in there. Derek Carr is active. I think that's good news for, your pass catchers for New Orleans. I don't know that I would trust Derek Carr himself, but maybe, his ownership is really suppressed, and that could be a sneaky little MME play at this point. But he is in. Treylon Burks is out. I think that is a really, really nice pickup there for Nick Westbrook-Akine. I've actually got him in one of my MME lineups. I think it's a nice little bump for Chig as well. They're at tight end. Late window, Austin Eckler looks like he's not playing. There was a little bit of talk earlier in the week that, maybe he had a chance to play. I never really thought it personally made sense with them having a bye next week, but Mike Williams, obviously is out for the season now. Joshua Kelley has been terrible filling in. So I thought maybe, those two things would kind of force their hand a little bit. They're 0-3, which doesn't really mean anything for fantasy purposes, but it did give a little bit more of a lean, I thought, to maybe playing Eckler, but he's going to be out. I think Elijah Mitchell's missing the game today. I already had CMC as a lock in cash. CMC, when he's healthy, is always a great play, but Elijah Mitchell being out just means more work for, CMC. And then Debo is questionable. Looks like he's going to play. So him and Ayuk are both in. That really downgrades Kittle for me. I thought that Debo was going to be out. So I was pretty high on Kittle. But with basically every pass catcher being healthy there in San Francisco, that's going to put me out there. So, Chris, that's the inactive talk. There's actually more than there has been all season to this point. I think we've had probably more just this week as far as actionable information than we had in the first 3 weeks combined. So I think it's always important that we start there and we can move forward. That's going to be the difference between our Friday stuff and the stuff we talk about here. So welcome in, my guy. Didn't see you on Friday. How you
Thank
been?
you. Everything's fantastic. I want to say thank you to Keith for filling in on Friday. It was one of those things where it's just nice to get away for a minute. Get away. I was still at home. I was doing some things, but I know I could trust Keith to step up and step in and be with you. That was fantastic. And when you look at the landscape of it, I can't believe it's already week 4. I watched the DFS then, and even you were like, I can't believe it's already the first quarter of the season is going to be done and over. This time tomorrow or close to it after Monday Night Football, and it's going by in the blink of an eye. And as you said, with all these inactives come, they're going to get more and more, right, as teams start to move on, as teams start to separate themselves from their divisions and all that. And then we're going to see certain things like, why would Austin Eckler play 0-3? They have a bye week. Maybe they can go on some sort of run. I don't know what their head coach is thinking over there. He's on the hot seat. There's a lot of stuff, but one big thing I will say, and I hope this isn't, I don't think it's going to be shocking to you, but hopefully it's not shocking to the people out there watching this. All these inactives, they have played not a single role in what I had planned for this week in terms of building my lineups, in the way the articles came out and the guys that I mentioned. I mean, I am still, gotten through this week virtually unscathed, as they say, in terms of what quarterbacks I like, what running backs I'm into. In some cases, it's only furthered my initial thought or my initial idea. And the Sunday Night Football tonight, I know we don't really we discussed everything that's on the main slate, but when you look at Sunday football, it's supposed to be a slaughter fest, right? Just, Kansas City at the Jets, and that video is already out. I did it already because it was such a weird thing, but it got me in the mood to discuss a few things here on this broadcast, where it's not, we talked about game theory. We did one of those preseason DFS den things, game theory, and that's what that's the kind of attitude I'm in here for this Sunday live morning. More game theory. And so we can weave in and out of all the inactives, and we can that's the beauty to DFS. That's why we can play DFS. If people are injured, we can get right around that. We can go third, fourth string. It doesn't matter to me. And I know you love those two quarterbacks, right? DTR and O'Connell. I got a ton of DMs, about that, even on Facebook. I had, one of my childhood friends is texting me. Too bad at what we were not getting Clayton Tune playing in Arizona tonight. That would be the trifecta, and he would be my favorite of the three. But, lest we forget, there are going to be, injuries and such, and hopefully you plant your ass here for at least an hour when Dave and I go through all this stuff. So, I'm glad to be here. And why don't you kick it off with quarterbacks? I think we know where I'm headed. Where are you going to kind of go here?
Yeah, so I do want to say, when the news came out and we found out that Aiden O'Connell was playing, I wasn't super interested in playing him, but I was seeing so much steam about, people sliding him into lineups. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to overreact, but I also don't want to underreact. One thing that I always say about cash is, let other people make mistakes, right? Like, don't be the one that makes mistakes. Let others do so. And so initially I thought that, playing Aiden O'Connell would probably be a mistake, because even if we would have known early in the week, right? Like on Tuesday, we find out, hey, Jimmy G's out. Well, I would have been off on Davante Adams. Davante Adams was a guy that I had marked in as a cash play for me earlier in the week. And then, it was kind of dependent on the, Jimmy G news. But anyways, I started to build some lineups with Aiden O'Connell, and it was not better than what I was already rolling out with. So I was like, okay, Aiden O'Connell, I'm gonna go ahead and let him slide. And then we get the Deshaun Watson is out news. So now we got, DTR is available. Now they're the same exact price. So I've already been down the road of what can I do with my lineup if I drop to a bare minimum tight end? I can slide in another stud and upgrade, a mid-tier kind of guy, but I already liked the lineup that I had in place, and I did not find myself building anything better. Now, when it comes to MME purposes, right, I feel like I still am, again, just as good as where I was before, because the MME quarterbacks that I'm rolling out there, I just want to look to make sure I'm not missing one. But I'm doing Burrow, I'm doing Wilson, I'm doing Allen. Okay. I don't think that any of those guys, maybe Allen, is going to get, steamed up in ownership. I think that it is now possible that DTR and O'Connell surpass all of those guys in ownership. And I'm absolutely fine with that. So this quarterback news is one of those situations where I'm going to let other people make mistakes. I'm not going to overreact. I can't tell you how many times news has came out on Sunday morning and I went, oh my God, I've got to play DTR. Like a bare minimum quarterback that can run, like that's an obvious cheat code in cash. Now, I don't know what would have happened maybe if we would have found out about DTR, earlier in the week. That may have been something that was of interest. But like I said, I took the time, tried to build lineups this morning that route, didn't find it. So for cash, I'm in on Anthony Richardson. We've got a lot of news that could bring me off of him. We've got, like I said, the 2 quarterbacks that are the minimum now. We've got offensive line issues in Indy as well. We've got at least 1 tackle out. We might have a total of 3 starters out. To me, that got me off of Zach Moss. Zach Moss was a possibility, but I had 3 running backs I liked better already. So I went ahead and removed Zach Moss. I don't necessarily think that it's going to affect Richardson as much. He's not a pocket guy. If anything, maybe he runs a little bit more. I mean, is it ideal? No. I don't want offensive line issues with my quarterback, but none of the news that has happened, even though it all could push you in the direction of getting off of Richardson, has done so. And then I'm still in on Russ as well. If you want to spend a little bit down, you want to play Russell Wilson, same as what I've been saying all week long. Those have been my 2 guys the whole time. Nothing has changed for me, Chris.
Yeah, no, I love it. Let other people make mistakes. And as I mentioned in the opening here, I kind of skated through unscathed, and in bottom of the barrel, it kind of thins out, right? Normally I'm upfront and I'm open and honest with everybody. And on Tuesday, when I published bottom of the barrel, I only had like 6 or 7 guys. And the head cheese over here, Mr. Joe Bond, he sent me a message and said, the cash wall. The cash wall kind of quarterbacks here. Can you kind of make a sentence or something? I said, well, it's tough sledding with quarterbacks, right? Because like running backs and wide receivers, there's 30, 40 of them that you can mention. And with quarterback, in terms of, so we're taking the quarterback position. There's 32 teams. You cut those in half because you could say, right, 10, maybe 12 of those quarterbacks are studs. They're expensive. And then you got another 10 that fit the mold in terms of what their price tag is. And then you can only do so much at the quarterback position. And now, you get DTR, you get Aiden O'Connell. But to me, it's still unscathed. I'm still going with Justin Fields. And I found a lot of my, I would say 75 to 80% of my lineups are Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett. And I'll tell you why. When you look at Brock Purdy, San Francisco's playing Arizona. Arizona's 25th overall against opposing quarterbacks. Purdy's only 7-1 on FanDuel, 5-9 on DK, $28 on Yahoo. When I look at this final score, and so anybody that's out there watching, grab a pen and a piece of paper. You're more than happy, more than glad to write this stuff down as I go. I have San Francisco winning this one in a laugher, 28-10, 31-10. And when you get a guy like Purdy, he's not asked to do a lot. And you're like, well, if you're going to go Josh Allen in a cash game, or one of these other bigger studs, Patrick Mahomes, who isn't on the main slate, Brock Purdy can stand where I'm standing, flick his wrist, and let Christian McCaffrey do the rest. Flick his wrist, let Ayuk or Deebo Samuel do the rest. He's in a perfect spot.
George Kittle against the Cardinals.
He's in a perfect spot, actually, week to week, and it just so happens they're hosting Arizona. The over-under's at about 43. I would bet on the under, but to be honest with you, San Francisco is going to carry this whole thing. So give me Frisco to put up 28 points. And what are the chances Brock Purdy isn't at around 240, 250 yards with at least 2 touchdown passes? If he can get to that 3 or 4 touchdown passes for Purdy, that would be sweet. That would be what we call heaven, DFS heaven. And when you look at Kenny Pickett, he's kind of picking up the pace a little bit, picking up the steam I'm not in his development, I'm saying. And when we looked at last time Pittsburgh played, it made headlines where their offensive coordinator is still calling plays, but they want him. He's working one-on-one with Kenny Pickett. And it kind of showed last week. And I want to see Kenny Pickett week to week, and we would call that up. I wouldn't call that a jump. I would call it a leap in 1 week and 7 days. And Kenny Pickett, they're in Houston, the Texans 17th overall against opposing quarterbacks. And Kenny Pickett, when you look at this one, I have Pittsburgh in a tough, you would say it's two teams kind of, Houston has always been laughed at. They're a joke. They have a very capable, young rookie quarterback in CJ Stroud. He's going to hang in there. You love to see that. And Pittsburgh isn't going to blow you away, wow you with their offensive skill positional players. Najee Harris is being cut in seasonal formats because he hangs around that 5 to 8 point range. But give me Kenny Pickett, not to do a ton, right? 240 yards and 2 touchdown passes, and I'm cool given his price tag. 6'8" on FanDuel. What is it? 5-1 on DraftKings, only $22 on Yahoo. And let me go to the one and only. I mentioned it. Let's just get this out of the way. I love the idea of stacking up Chicago and Denver. Two bad teams, two teams that are really, what the heck's going on in Chicago? Denver, they just gave up 70 points. I mean, that's the headline in its own. It's probably like beating a dead horse here. But Justin Fields, Denver's 30th overall against opposing quarterbacks. And again, you can make fun of Chicago. You can make fun of Justin Fields, but these are still human beings. They're still professional athletes. Justin Fields is a very young man trying to come into his own. And I think that they need a what would you call it? Like not approve it, but they need to do something big. And I'm looking at Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears coaching staff to take some risks in this one. So I have Fields, a touchdown on the ground, 2 in the air, something along those lines. And the price tag kind of, on the higher end of bottom of the barrel, but it's still worth it to me, given everything else, Bryce Young, Matthew Stafford, Andy Dalton, if what's his name isn't available in Carolina. So to me, it's crazy. And I just do want to say this: Jimmy Garoppolo not playing with a concussion. We need to get used to that stuff. More than likely he was able to play, but the NFL is really cracking down on that stuff. So if you get a player that has a concussion in, say, week A, more than likely even they're not going to play the next week. That they're done and over with that kind of thing. The NFL is not playing with concussions anymore. So we need to be more mindful of that. So to be fair with you, I'm going to trim it down. Give me Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett, and I'm off to the races.
So in a nutshell, quarterback, with the big news that we've had come out this morning for Chris and for nothing has changed. Moving on here to the running back spot, we've got a couple things here that need to bring up. So we got Larry Horn, one of our All Access members, talks about, we talk all the time in Discord. He's asking now, Moss is out for cash. Yeah, that's basically where I'm at now, Larry. He wasn't one of my top 3 guys. I was looking to play 3 guys in cash anyways. With the offensive line troubles, I think that puts Moss probably out for me in cash, which doesn't leave much of a pool. If you're in our Discord, how many guys I have in our cash pool. So kind of leads you to playing exactly what I'm playing. But yeah, Moss for me, I just couldn't see playing him at this point. Same price as Kyron Williams, just in case you didn't have Kyron in there. So easy pivot there. Had another question. This is another guy, All Access member in our, Discord, talks to us, all the time.
Oh, Ronnie, yeah. Good game.
Yeah. Do you guys like Amari Cooper over Pickens, Brian Robinson, or A-Chain with Watson out? Chris, I'll let you go ahead and tackle that. It sounds like it's an MME question.
Yeah, well, if it's an MME question, I'm going to try and hit a home run, and I'm going to go with Pickens. I just mentioned.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
I just mentioned Kenny Pickett. So if I'm going to use Kenny Pickett in some MME stuff, I'm going to pair him with Pickens, a guy who is starting to come into his own, a guy who I look at kind of a mirror image in terms of what they do on the field with Deebo Samuel, right? You can get him the ball in space. You get a little bubble screen, little, behind the line of scrimmage stuff. You can pitch it to him. You can bomb the ball on go routes with Pickens, and we're in the money. When you look at Amari Cooper, I already know what everybody out there is saying. saying. I probably could guess what you were going to say. Amari Cooper is more of a volume play. He get but Deshaun Watson is not the quarterback today. So Amari Cooper to me is, I've never been an Amari Cooper fan. So to me, it's Pickens. When you look at Brian Robinson and a chain in Miami, I'm not saying a chain is a flash in the pan, but people are so, they look at it like it's like that big diamond ring or that pendant that went down on the Titanic. They're like, oh my God, that's not going to happen every week. So we need to take a breath, take a sigh of relief, and give me George Pickens here, Ronnie.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, you could have switched that, maybe you had Watson in your lineup and you switch it to DTR. I would feel completely comfortable just running DTR naked if you wanted to. I wouldn't feel the need to force any correlation with him. Guys like DTR, guys like, Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. Those are guys you can run out there naked if need be. So I wouldn't play Cooper in any circumstance at this point. And of the guys you listed, Pickens is by far the guy. Got a question over here in Discord since we're hitting into running backs. I want to get the questions out of the way first. This is for GPPs, Chris, so I'll let you lead the way here.
Let's hear it.
But he's asking Javonte Williams or DeAndre Swift.
Javonte Williams and DeAndre Swift. So when we look at these two, DeAndre Swift, and this all from the top of my head, obviously you're tossing them at me on the go. I would lean DeAndre Swift just for the simple fact that they are he's running hot, he's running well, and we're going to use that up. And I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that a-hole, that jerk that treats people like their possessions, but in a way, when we bet and we play DFS, and Javonte Williams is in bottom of the barrel. It is that Denver-Chicago game, but in the grand scheme of things, I have Philadelphia. That offense is unbelievably good, and they're always going to be in the games, and you can always trust Philadelphia, to put up what 20 plus points in any given situation. So give me DeAndre Swift. He is now the RB1 there. There was talks before the season. Is it Gainwell? Is it Swift? And then all these people saying, I can't believe the Lions traded away Swift for a bag of peanuts. But when we look at this week, give me DeAndre Swift. They're at home playing against Washington, and I have Philadelphia to win this one handedly, probably around 28-14. So I see Swift getting in the end zone once, if not twice.
Yeah, and I will say, and again, I'll answer this from obviously an MME perspective. I do agree with Chris. I think that Swift is the play here. But I will also say that those are about as close as you can get. I could very easily argue Javonte Williams. And as a Lions fan, the reason we got rid of Swift is just because he was never healthy. Great player. But man, he just was hardly on the field. But when he was fantastic. So, Swift is healthy, at least, before the game starts. And, so I think that he is actually the safer of the two options, believe it or not. Upside is probably very similar. Better matchup for Javonte, but Javonte is still kind of, getting his work ramped up.
Yeah, he's like a sleeping giant too. He's going to have a blow up game. Is it going to be this one? And to be quite frankly, why can't we play both of them if it's in a GPP? Even in seasonal formats, if you have Swift and Javonte, you're playing both. I'd love to know how your lineup looks where you need to pick one or the other, because when you look at Javonte, only 5.8 on FanDuel, 5.5 on DK, they're cheap enough where you can put both of those running backs in there and still have a ton of dough left to kind of figure out your wide receiver tight end combos.
Yeah, and in my three max that I've built here, one of them has Javonte, one of them has Swift, one of them has neither. So I think that they're about as equal as they come. But let's just simply talk running back itself here real quick. For me, it's pretty simple. I don't have a lot of guys in my pool. I'm telling you right now, McCaffrey's been a lock the entire time. Like I say, death, taxes, and playing CMC when he's healthy and cash. And so that's where I'm at there. Kyren Williams is another guy who's been locked in with me. Just absolutely elite usage. I'm going to continue to ride him until, the price makes it to where it's, prohibitive to do so. So I knew I was playing those two. Really wanted to play a third running back in cash, but we have so many value receivers that, I could have gone a whole variety of ways. Finally, I settled on Tony Pollard. Just the volume is just too much. The matchup isn't fantastic. The offensive line scares me, a little bit, but There weren't a whole lot of other people I was considering. Zach Moss was one of them with the Indy offensive line issues. I am now out. I think I can get away with Richardson with the offensive line issues. I don't know if Ron is still listening, but he had asked a question in Discord about, does that offensive line issues affect Richardson as well? You must have missed the opening part of the show. I think that it does, but I don't think that it takes me off of him. But for Moss, it takes me off. The other guy I had in there was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs was in there basically if Eckler was going to be out, which he is, and if you wanted to go a different route than Pollard. I think Jacobs is in a fantastic spot here against the Chargers. Terrible run defense. That's what we call a run funnel. They're not so bad against the pass, so everyone runs on them, right? And then that's about where it ended. There are some other guys that I could argue with, but I didn't think they were in the same tier as these guys. So, situation has kind of worked itself out where my cash pool has built itself, Chris.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And here, if we're going to talk running backs, I'm going to dig deep, and it's two running backs from the same game, and they're not even the starters. They're not even the starting running backs of their own team. So it's the second string running back. So we're going to stack them in the same game, and that's Samaje Perine, Denver's running back. They're at Chicago. Chicago's 31st overall against opposing running backs, and the Chicago Bears rookie running back. How do you pronounce his first name? Roschon Johnson. Chicago is hosting Denver. Denver's dead. So Denver is dead last. Chicago is 31st. I love the idea of putting both of these running backs in the same line at the same time. And then you can even put in then CMC in the flex spot, however you want to do it. I have Samaje Perine. When you look at him, he's going to be active. Granted, I'm looking at like 8 or 9 carries for Perine. And these guys were all mentioned in depth in Bottom of the Barrel, which is out now at the website. So to me, I'm just kind of reiterating some of this stuff. But to me, where Perine is going to be the most valuable is going to be catching passes. Sure, he's going to get 8 to 9 carries, probably put up 25 to 30 yards. Right now, Perine's averaging around 4.5 yards a carry, but he is very valuable catching the football. So Javonte is going to be in there. They're going to run him. And as you said, they're ramping his workload up. But Perine was brought to Denver, to be a complimentary guy to get this kind of stuff done. And in a game where, you could call it garbage time as soon as the game starts. I have like a 28 to 24, 28 to 27 kind of final. So we're looking at points all over the place. So where can we get the lowest owned price points and the lowest owned points in the slate here? And I think it's in Chicago and Denver with Roschon Johnson and Samaje Perine. If you go up a little bit more, Pittsburgh's playing Houston, another game that I love. Houston is 27th overall against opposing running backs. It's Jaylen Warren. I'm not saying that Jaylen Warren is going to just take over this backfield and leave Najee Harris, kind of in the rearview mirror, but he is a big play guy. He picks up, just chunk yardage, and to me, 6-1 on FanDuel, 5,000 on DK, only $16 on Yahoo. Jaylen Warren warrants the price tag. And as we go down, even Khalil Herbert in Chicago. So we're looking at, I know my, not my player pool, but I have like tunnel vision for a few games. And I think that's okay, from slate to slate, right? I've said in multiple single slate videos, sometimes the videos are about, telling the story backwards. Sometimes the slate is about, spending up. And like you said, your player pool just kind of wrote itself in a way. To me, this slate is about, just these really cheap guys, and even Latavius Murray in Buffalo. Mentioned him last week. What did he do? He found the end zone. Again, he's going to get 2 to 3 carries maybe, but 1 or 2 of those carries might be finding the end zone. And they're playing Miami in a game that is going to be, outstanding and fantastic. I saw Josh Allen walk through the tunnel wearing, gray sweatpants and a t-shirt, not a care in the world. He needs to step his game up and quit turning the ball over. But to me, Latavius Murray in a game that's just going to be action. Some of the starters, right? The Buffalo Bills running backs are going to need a breather every once in a while. So we'll get in Latavius Murray inside the red zone, or hey, every once in a while. So to me, Roschon Johnson in Chicago, Samaje Perine, Latavius Murray. I did have Eli Mitchell. That's a bummer that he's out. And maybe even a little bit of Zeke Elliott. New England is going to Dallas. just nothing but a revenge game. I know they're probably on good terms, but everybody loves a good revenge game narrative, and Dallas is very good against running backs. So that's on you if you want. So as I said, give me Jaylen Warren, give me Roshan Johnson and Samaje Perine. And we're talking like, that $5 to $10 single entry GPP with 100,000 other people in there. But first is a very cool $100,000, $250,000, something like that. So that's what I'm looking at running backs. What are you thinking when we look at the wide receiver position? There's just, it's loaded. And when I look at my notes, my bottom of the barrel notes or whatever notes, it's just loaded with green. As you know, I color coordinate my stuff. Does that make me a weirdo or a freak? I don't know. That's how I live my life. But when I look down at I write for example, I have Terry McLaurin, Washington at Philadelphia. Philadelphia's 25th, and I write it in green. And Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay at New Orleans. New Orleans is 11th DB. So I write the 11 in red so I can clearly see it when I'm looking or when I got to talk on the fly. So to me, there's at least a dozen to 20 wide receivers that I love that are very cheap. And the DVP is just absolutely beautiful in games where the final scores it's just tremendous. So I'm going to slow it down and throw it to you before I, freak out. Maybe I should have some whipped cream on my nips. I'm freaking out.
Maybe. So, I mean, I'm going to make it quick. We're up to 12:30 already here. So, we got a couple positions to go here. For cash, I'm just going to run through it here real quick because pretty much nothing has changed for me. Guys that I like, and I'll just go through this. Tank Dell, been playing him for a while now, super cheap. He's in my cash lineup. Adam Thielen, not just revenge game narrative, but he's been seeing good volume the last couple weeks. People are, a little bit concerned about, him, with going back to Bryce as opposed to Dalton. I'm not worried about it. Josh Palmer, he's obviously in there because of Mike Williams. Again, super cheap. Totally makes sense, where you could go that route. He's seen pretty good volume when Mike Williams has been out. Those are the three guys that I'm playing in cash. Calvin Austin, he's a guy that I think is really interesting. He is the absolute cheapest guy, for me that was available in cash. Didn't need to get down to him because I could pay down for, those other three guys. But, if you needed to, if Eckler was going to play, for example, Eckler is going to be in my lineup, I would have needed to play Austin. I don't. The studs that I think are worthy of consideration. Jamar Chase going up against the Titans. It's not even a small sample size that the Titans are terrible against pass catchers. It's been this entire season, which is, the most important thing, but you can go all the way back to last season too. They have been shredded by, passing and specifically to, wide receiver one. So love Jamar Chase. Keenan Allen is obviously a no-brainer. I don't know that I could play Keenan and Palmer together in a cash lineup. But Keenan Allen, he very well is going to just lead the league in targets the rest of the way. There's just, the volume is just going to be there. And right now his price is not prohibitive. So very, very in play. And then Tyreek Hill, I mean, guys basically just the cheat code, right now with everything they're doing in Miami. I mean, you could play him at any point in time. If I had to rank those guys in order for cash, I would go Keenan, I would go Chase, I would go Hill, but you could really flip-flop those in any direction. It's, it just is what it is. So so that's my thoughts from a cash perspective on the wide receiver position, Chris.
Yeah, while you were talking, I've said this a million times. I know we're going to have to pick up the pace here, but I'm always.
Let me stop you real quick. I forgot. I wanted to get the question. I had a question from Miguel in our Discord chat, another All Access member, always in there. And I meant to get to the questions first for people, so I'm sorry. And it leads to you anyways. I'll give my answer real quick, but then I'll let you expound on it. He wants to know Tutu or Thielen for GPPs. For me, it's simple. Thielen is, a cash play. I don't think he's got a huge ceiling by any stretch of the imagination. So for GPPs, give me Tutu because I could see him having a significantly bigger game than I could Thielen, Chris.
Absolutely. And I'll just spell it out here. I have Adam Thielen, 7-8 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, around 55 yards or so. He's averaging, around 10.6 yards a reception. And when we look at Tutu, it's a perfect example. Tutu, 7 to 8 targets, 4 or 5 receptions, around 65 to 70 yards. And I think we're going to see Tutu carry the ball once or twice on some kind of, design runs. And it is perfect because, as I was saying, as you're talking, I'm writing down notes as well, things I'm thinking of that I maybe had escaped me before. But I have these combos, these wide receiver combos, and I find that to be sometimes under the right situation, it can be beneficial, like starting Tutu and Puka in the same lineup. I love them. And when you look at, when you look at the DVP here, the Colts, you mentioned it, the Colts 26th overall against opposing wide receivers. Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. Washington is at Philadelphia. I already told you Philadelphia is going to hang, 28 to 31 points. Washington's going to have to keep pace. Is it going to be Sam Howell? I don't even know who their second string quarterback is over there. Is it Jacoby Brissett, maybe something like that? I don't know.
I think it's Mark Rippon.
Mark Rippon, he would probably be better served chucking the ball to Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson in Washington. Elijah Moore and DPJ in Cleveland with Dorian Thompson Robinson, something like that.
DTR for short.
Yeah, DTR for short. How many times was he seeing reps in the summer with Elijah Moore? How many times was he seeing reps with DPJ? So again, that trio is it going to be highly owned? Absolutely not. Is it going to be unique? No, I wouldn't say unique. I would say somewhere in the middle, but lean towards kind of unique if you played, DTR and Moore and DPJ, and then the other combo would be Tank and what's his name here? Nico Collins has been in bottom of the barrel every week of the season. So to me, it's all about finding those right combinations. And it just so happens this week, those combinations for me are all on the same team. And we'll toss in Marvin Mims as well, another Denver, Chicago kind of thing. Finally, it looks like they've unlocked what Marvin Mims Jr. can do. And with Sean Payton, when he sees that little, I don't know how you would say it, sees that little gold nugget or sees the chicken wings come on, his eyes light up and he goes crazy. So I would expect Marvin Mims to be highly involved in this game, in a game that's just going to be no rules, right? The defenses there's going to be no rules. Anything goes. It's going to be like that, the longest yard kind of football game, clotheslines, power bombs. It doesn't matter to me. So Marvin Mims Jr., and you mentioned him as well. Stone Cold Kelvin Austin III. Pittsburgh is playing Houston. That's where I'm thinking the combos of wide receivers on the same team for me this week.
So let's get to a couple of questions we've had come in here. This one I know from Larry is more directed towards me, asking about any concerns about Calvin Austin with Robinson playing, because in my write-up I mentioned that, if Allen Robinson was never super in doubt, but he was questionable earlier in the week. And I said, if Allen Robinson is out, Calvin Austin probably just becomes a lock. And then I work my way around from there, right? Allen Robinson is playing. I don't really think that amazingly affects Austin's, upside. So I'm already off on Austin for cash just because, like I said, there's so many other guys. I didn't need the salary to get there, but I have no problem playing him. In GPPs, I would say he's probably going to be a little bit too chalky for my liking. For the same price, I'd rather play Nick Westbrook-Akine. Now, I think that Austin has a much, much, much higher ceiling, but you're going to get no ownership on Westbrook-Akine, and everyone's going to be playing Calvin Austin. So, in a nutshell, to answer your question, Larry, no, I don't think that Allen Robinson playing really affects, Austin. And then we had another one over here, Chris. And again, I'll hit it real quick, and I'll let you talk about it because it's a GPP thing. But he's saying Allen or Diggs in GPP. He thinks he knows the answer, but I think I'm going to surprise him, and I'm going to say Diggs. And the reason I say Diggs is because Allen is going to be pure chalk, and I can get similar upside at, let me see what the price, similar upside, similar price, but at a fraction of the ownership. So, unless I'm playing Herbert, then I'm actually preferring Diggs. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, when I look at this, it's tough to deny those double-digit targets that Keenan Allen is going to see. He's going to catch 8 or 9 passes. He's going to hang 80 plus yards. He's going to score a touchdown. But when we look at Diggs, in, like as I said, in a game where it's just going to be this back and forth, I have Stephon Diggs 10, 11 targets, 7, 8. I mean, I have exact literal stat lines for both of them when we look at this week. So to me, then I would look at who's the opposing who's the quarterback that's going to get these guys the football. So it's Justin Herbert or Josh Allen. Those guys are studs too, right? So that what's the next level that we go to? What's the price tag? What's the DVP? So to me, I'm going to go with Keenan Allen, and that's just a personal preference. Again, kind of like when we were talking, kind of like CMC or DeAndre Swift. When these guys are healthy, you know, we're going to run it. We're going to roll with it. We're going to run it. And again, I wish Keenan Allen all the best, all the health. I don't want to jinx anybody. I don't want to do that. But to me, in a GPP personally, it's Keenan Allen. So Miguel, you're right back where you started, because Dave likes Diggs. I like Keenan Allen, both 10 targets, both scoring a touchdown, both 80 plus yards. So wherever you can trim, you know, salary to fit both in, or whichever one, I mean, just literally flip a coin.
And I would go a step further. I would say that I strongly prefer Diggs over Allen. And not only is it the ownership aspect of things, but ownership is a huge part of it. The other part of it is, now with Jimmy G out, I don't know how much the Raiders are going to score. So, you know, the Chargers theoretically may not get pushed too hard, and that could hurt Allen as well. That's a little bit of a secondary concern, but just the fact that, you know, Diggs is going to be a fraction of the ownership whenever even Chris says he thinks they're very similar plays, I would let ownership completely dictate. And that's why I'm very strongly on Diggs. But I don't, if you want to play Allen, I do understand why. Tight ends. Again, I'll go with tight ends first, Chris, because I don't have a whole lot here. It was George Kittle for quite a while for me. You know, he's going up against the Cardinals, who are historically just terrible against tight ends. You know, Ayuk was questionable. Debo wasn't looking like he wasn't going to play. Turns out everyone is playing now. So, you know, I very, very, very rarely ever pay up for tight end. I was willing to do so if Kittle was going to be the guy with CMC. That is no longer the case. I have moved off of Kittle. The other guy that I was looking at was George Freiermuth. Again, a little bit more than I like to pay at tight end, but this is what I did last week with Ertz. Absolutely did not work out. I didn't learn my lesson, and I'm right back at it because I'm playing Freiermuth again. If you wanted to punt, you know, you got a couple options. I think Kylan Granson is an interesting one. I think Logan Thomas is interesting, but he's not really a pure punt either. Donald Parham, you're looking for a touchdown for me. I've always said, if I'm punting that tight end and you tell me that I get one catch for 1 yard and it's a touchdown, I would sign up for it instantly. So, that's kind of what I'm thinking for tight end. Pretty quick and simple, Chris.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick and easy too. You mentioned, you know, Kyan Granlinson. I love Pat Freiermuth, to just reiterate that Pittsburgh, you know, stack-ish kind of with Kenny Pickett. Pat Freiermuth against Houston, they're 31st overall against opposing tight ends. Pat Freiermuth, kind of the same thing. You know, I don't want to say one catch, one touchdown. That's maybe his rookie year, but now we can count on Freiermuth for at least 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 45 to 50 yards and a touchdown. That's his stat line I'm projecting for this week. Give me that. As we go down the list, you mentioned Donald Parham. I like Juwan Johnson. New Orleans is playing Tampa Bay. And what about Chig? You mentioned him at the beginning of the show 40-something minutes ago. Tennessee's playing Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 27th overall against tight ends. And so what about a Chig and a Nick Westbrook kind of thing? That's a very unique, you know, 1-2 punch, a third string wideout and a tight end who the ownership percentage is going to be nil, next to nothing. I'd be shocked if Chig was over, you know, 2.5% ownership. So give me Chig, Juwan, Pat Freiermuth, and just out at Cole Kmet, just in case, right? This game, this Denver Chicago game. Don't want to oversaturate or overwhelm people out there, but I love that. And one more thing, David Njoku, I guess there was a concern he burned himself and he showed up. I don't know. I sent Mike LaPlant a photo. He walked into the field field. He was wearing a mink jacket, nothing underneath, and he had it looked like a Michael Myers mask on almost. It was just it was so weird. So it looks like David Njoku is playing, and if that's his mindset, he's wearing like black slacks, a mink coat, and a Michael Myers mask. It was like shocking to me. But David Njoku, very cheap. Baltimore is tough against tight ends, but Njoku's a big man. He'll be okay.
Yeah, but you have another kind of a game theory thing here from Larry. He's asking about double stacking Sutton and Mims with Russ. And I will say, like I said, I do have a 3 max that I'm playing with Russ. I played Sutton, and my thought was for a double stack, I didn't want to do Judy just because he's too expensive, and that's what everyone would do. So I actually was thinking about Javonte, just to, again, be different, right? Like that should get me a good chunk of that offense, But yeah, I think that Sutton and Mims is obviously viable. I mean, anytime you're playing, quarterback and you want to ask me, hey, is it okay to play their running back, either of their top 2 receivers or their tight end? I would always pretty much say yeah. So I don't know, Chris, do you have any disagreement there for some reason that's not a viable stack?
No, I think it's well within, especially if I used to play those in baseball and hockey, those only 3 entries, and they used to call it a square or squeeze. They're always called the squeeze, right? In NHL and hockey, and you get 3 max. So I would try and be weird. So if I was going to enter one of those contests, I get 3 lineups. I would do a Denver double stack as you're laying it out there, Sutton, Mims, and Russ, and then I would run it back with another lineup with Fields, Roschon Johnson, and even Cole Kmet in there. So that in a 3-man, anything is possible regardless of the slate or the entries you're choosing. But I will never, ever, ever in my life tell someone they're wrong or that doesn't look good to me, because in DFS, again, anything goes. So in your heart of hearts, Mr. Horn Jr., if you think that this Denver double stack is what you need and it's going to hit, then by all means, as I told you, I have this final to be 28-27, 31-28, something like that. So there are a ton of points to go around. If you're going to double stack Denver, make sure you throw in a couple Chicago Bears players in that same entry. And then on the reverb side of things, make it Chicago heavy with a little bit of Denver heavy with a little bit of Chicago. And there's 2 entries. And the third one, you can do as you please.
Yeah, and what I will say too is in that Denver stack that I have, my run back is Roschon Johnson. Normally a run back is, it's typically a receiver, typically a wide receiver, but could be a tight end. Sometimes it's, the team starting running back. In this case, technically it's the backup running back. And again, it comes back to game theory, because if Denver is going to be successful, if my Denver stack is correct, if that's the stack of the week, they're going to put up points. If they're going to put up points, then the Bears need to put up points. So how are the Bears likely to do that? They're going to need to score points. They're going to be scoring points. That probably means Roschon Johnson is going to be on the field more than Herbert. So that, again, your lineup needs to tell a story that, revolves around what you think is going to happen. So if this lineup is to work, Roschon Johnson, to me, is the guy that is a little bit unique, because I'm not playing DJ Moore. I'm not playing Cole Kmet. I'm not even playing Darnell Mooney. I'm going with Roschon Johnson because he could get a whole lot of work out of the backfield catching the ball. So that's what I'm thinking there. Everyone's favorite, Chris, defense. Again, I'll make it quick because by the time I get to Sunday at noon, my, quote unquote player pool is pretty damn small. And it's already been small at defense the entire week. The Browns, the Panthers, and at one point the Raiders were in consideration. Raiders just because they're so dirt cheap. And, in DFS, salary really has very little correlation to actual performance. And I just thought it was a way to get unique maybe. And again, to be fair, Mike Williams is out. Austin Eckler is out. So they are missing a ton of pieces. But they were just in there as another option. The Browns, I don't know how Deshaun Watson being out affects anything. If anything, and I know that we've talked about how we prefer defenses, if anything, it makes the game probably more low scoring, which I don't prefer. I think people naturally think, oh man, I want a team that's going to give up as few points as possible. Not really. I don't care if they give up 40. I want sacks. I want picks. And so I think that this game could now kind of turn out to be low scoring, a lot of running. And, low scoring and running is what we don't want for defenses. If they're out there running the ball with, Lamar and with Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, we don't have a whole lot of opportunity to score points on the defensive side of things. Because we know the Browns now are going to lean on the run. They're going to run, DTR is going to get a lot of runs designed or just because he's got happy feet. Jerome Ford's going to get a lot of run there. So the Browns went from a no-brainer in me for cash to still just so much better than the Panthers. But for GPP purposes, I still would be off on the Browns, even more so now than I was before. Before it was because they were chalk. Now it's because they're going to be chalky, but now they have a lot more question marks. So my favorite is either the Panthers for GPP or even like the Colts. Colts have been a surprisingly good defense. Originally, I liked the idea of pairing Moss with the Colts defense for that correlation, but I still like Panthers and Colts as my favorite GPP defenses.
Yeah, you stole my thunder, but what I'm used to it by now. You taking away everything that I hold dear. But no, all I did was when I look at this thing, I'll flip it upside down and I'll start with the cheapest and work my way back. Right, the Vegas Raiders are $3,000 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, the Raiders are the cheapest at $2,200, or excuse me, Cardinals are $2,200 and the Raiders are $2,300. And as you put it, I love the idea of Carolina playing Minnesota. They're only $3,400. The Rams against the Colts, that's a beautiful thing too. But no one's ever thought about maybe I said I liked Pittsburgh to play when they're playing Houston. That's another viable one. The Browns to me are in contention to my most favorite DST as well, just because the way their pass rush is. And maybe it's just a product of I was just watching some videos, and while I was sitting here waiting to go live, and I saw just the Browns defensive line just collapses pockets and guys fumble and they fold, and it's just insane to me. And so as we move on to DSTs, I mean, you could stack up Cincinnati against Tennessee, that old adage, Baltimore still in play at Cleveland. So I mean, you can go which any way you want, but I would trust Dave when he says the Colts, the Rams, and Carolina and the Browns to me are 1A and 1B, Dave.
Yeah, I think it kind of plays itself out, right? And again, I'll just simply reiterate, defense special teams is always the last spot that I feel, whether it's cash or whether it's MME. Never, I can't say never because I've made the mistake in the past, but pretty much never would I, go ahead and say, you know what, man, I need a couple extra $100. I was going to play the Browns, but I'm going to slide in the Panthers so that I can go from Jamar Chase to Keenan Allen, right? I would never do that. I would always just, play with the money you're left over at defense and just make it work. And a lot of times that means you're going to play, a quote unquote crap defense, but, crap defense, at the bottom of the pricing structure there, they put you up 5 or 6 points, which is not hard to do. And all of a sudden they've more than paid for themselves. And if you really preferred Keenan Allen over Jamar Chase, then it's probably worthwhile to dump the defense. So in a nutshell, defense should always just be the last thing that you fill out.
Defense wins championships. That's what my high school coach said when we played football, and I was a bench warmer. So take that as you will.
So that's the DFS stuff. We got a gentleman here who asked a rest of season question, and we got a couple of minutes here extra, so we'll hit it real quick. I don't know that we're the exact guys you want to ask, but we'll run it out here anyways. Reading it for the first time, Chris. So I'll read it out loud, and I always steal your thunder, so I'll let you go first. It says, Richardson, Burrow, or Cousins today? What about rest of the season? I have access to all three in my 8-team league. I didn't know they did 8-team leagues anymore. And 2 roster spots available for them. So basically, of those 3 guys, rank them for the guy today and rank them for the guy rest of the season, Chris.
Today I would go Joe Burrow, Cousins, Richardson. I have an idea that Cousins gets traded. I have this scenario where Cousins gets traded to the Jets, and the Jets don't, because they need a quarterback, and then boom, Cousins and Garrett Wilson become a thing, and by like week 10, we're going to be talking about stacking Cousins and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. But for today, when I look at my projections or my final scores here, I mean, Cousins has the luxury of Justin Jefferson, and Burrow has the luxury of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But this GD calf injury still isn't going away. Richardson's coming back in. He missed last week from a concussion. He's a rookie. It's not as easy as it looks. So to be fair, give me for rest of season, give me Cousins. I think he's traded and he gets a bump up in the supporting cast, if that's even possible. You go from Justin Jefferson to Garrett Wilson and everything there. So I'm just talking to talk at this point. So give me Cousins, Burrow, Richardson today, and the rest of the season, give me Burrow, Richardson, Cousins. I guess I'm not a ranker. I haven't been in a long time. So
I'll answer it 3 different ways. So from a cash perspective, I would go Richardson, I would go Burrow, I would go Cousins. From an MME perspective, give me Burrow, give me Richardson, give me Cousins. From a rest of season standpoint, give me Burrow, Burrow, Richardson, Cousins. So I guess at the end of the day, Cousins is the odd man out, Chris. That's the way I'm looking at it. But
yeah, and that's fine.
From a DFS perspective, I think it depends on format, and it doesn't always. But I mean, when Richardson is my cash quarterback for the week, I think that says itself. Whenever I've built 3 max lineups and I used Burrow, but I didn't use Richardson, again, I think that question answers itself there too.
We just dislike Minnesota so much. We don't care. He could be, he could have, Batman and Superman lining up left and right, and we'd still, no, I don't want to start Cousins, whatever. Yeah. No.
All right, but that's gonna do it here for us. Again, we're through week 4, Chris. We're looking for 4 winning weeks in a row here. I feel pretty confident with things. It was great talking with you. I missed you on Friday, but we got 5 minutes until this all kicks off. So appreciate everyone tuning in, and we shall see you next Saturday morning.
Yes, Sunday Night Football video out now on the YouTube page. Go check it out.